You're live.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Kinda Funny's Kevin Smith's View Askewniverse in review. That's right. We are ranking and reviewing every movie in the View Askewniverse. It's very exciting stuff, everybody. This is a show that is live every single week right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, where you could watch me, Greg Miller, Andy Cortez, Kevin Coelho, and Nick Scarpino rank and review some of our favorite movies. Right now we're doing Transformers and Kevin Smith movies, alternating Tuesdays and Fridays. It's exciting stuff. After that, we're doing Lord of the Rings. So get hyped about that. Andy, what editions are we doing?
It's official, everybody. We are doing the extended editions of Lord of the Rings.
No,
Maybe you are.
3 hours
Maybe
long.
you are. Get ready, dude. For like, it's already the best trilogy of all time. Now there's more of it. It's just we're so
Andy,
giving.
do you ever think you're gonna stop acting like you like these movies?
No, it's not an act, dude. It's not an act.
Sure.
But actually, several actors were nominated for Best Actor in this movie.
Sure, yeah. It was popular. You know, it's one of those things where it's like nerd.
Most Oscars of
all.
all time. Most Oscars of all time.
Wow.
Crazy
Wow.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
I've been on good authority
Moonlight?
that extended editions cannot make a movie worse. So I'm excited for this Lord of the Rings stuff.
That's fine.
Batman vs Superman, pretty good. You know,
I mean, I'm right there with you, Andy. Come on now. Come on. Wait till we get that Snyder cut of Justice League. Then we'll
really plugged a lot of holes in Batman v Superman.
Funny how it was #1, huh? You fucking hypocrite, huh? You remember that?
Yeah,
I remember
I don't remember. It was #1 for a week.
#1 forever. Never forget, everybody. #1 forever. Now, more importantly, which version of Mallrats were we supposed to watch, Tim?
We'll get to that.
You
We'll get
idiot.
to that. If you were, if you want to get the show ad free, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Just like our Patreon producers, Muhammad, Cameron Reagan, Steve Powers, Lee Polero, Julian the gluten-free gamer, Kieran O'Donnell, Drew Gardnier Fructis, and Al the Predator Tribesman. Whoa,
he's back.
Yeah, dude.
Holy shit.
It's crazy, man.
Holy shit.
It's crazy. If you don't want to pay, that's cool. You can get the show later on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. You can also get it as a podcast. Just search for Kinda Funny reviews on your favorite podcast service, and we will be there for you. Today, we are talking about Mallrats, released on October 20th, 1995. 1 year and 1 day after Clerks released. Pretty crazy tight turnaround there. And then in canon, the film takes place a day before Clerks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's cool.
You wouldn't know it from the version we saw, though.
This one is once again directed by Kevin Smith, which is very, very fun. The theatrical cut of this is the only one of the Kevin Smith movies that he didn't edit.
So, wait, you guys weren't trolling? There's an extended cut?
That's what you watched, Andy.
Andy, that's what you watched, Andy.
Yeah.
Give it 1
The real
second. A
version is
budget
much
of
better.
$6.1 million, which is a lot more money than the 27,000 of Clerks.
Right.
And a box office of 2.1 million, which is a lot less than the 3.2 million of Clerks.
So his
Runtime
return on investment on that one wasn't quite as good.
not quite as good.
Great.
A runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes, or if you watched the extended edition, like some of us might have, 2 hours and 3 minutes was
Holy
the runtime.
shit.
Boy, did it
I
not
watched-
have to be that.
Of this movie.
I watched the absolute wrong one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Now, no.
No.
Here's the thing.
No. You're not
No.
wrong. This is what happens when we don't discuss ahead of time.
Totally. But also, it's when things are mislabeled. So apparently, there's a whole kerfluffle about the goddamn extended edition of this movie. So I got some quotes for you here. Don't worry, guys. So this is a quote from Scott Mosier. So basically, we came up with a really long master cut of Mallrats, and it's pretty much taken directly from the script. This is a version of the movie, a kind of version of the first version of the movie that we put before a test audience that was like, oh, this is fucking terrible. This is a really bad film. So we said, that's the movie that we present on the 10th anniversary edition. So of course, we've included the real version, the theatrical version, which is awesome. And then we include this version, which we have taken to call the version that should never have been seen. And here it is now in your hands, able to be seen. So when I was gathering these movies, I didn't fucking know any of this. And the thing didn't say extended edition. It just said Mallrats. So I got Mallrats. Not, how am I supposed to be blamed, guys? How
You're a
the fuck am I
clown. You should have done your
movie?
cinematic
Nobody's
history. You should have
blaming
watched
you.
all the Kevin Smith
It's
stuff
your
ahead of time and
fault.
known.
But
I'm
I
so glad.
veto that we don't count this and we do it again next week.
I don't know.
I mean, I
wait.
watched the 90-minute version and had a delightful time.
Oh, yeah, you did.
This movie is fucking awful. Yeah,
Dude,
I didn't like this
yeah,
movie.
Wait, which one did you watch,
honestly,
Andy?
I watched the extended.
The extended version, it makes so many changes. It's a totally different start, and there's changes peppered throughout, and all of them is bad. It reminds me of there's something about Mary extended cut, which you should also under no circumstances watch. It is not good. It adds storylines that don't need to exist, and it removes tie-ins to other movies. It's super disappointing.
Andy, okay.
I watched 5 minutes of Kingpin last night.
Oh,
Great film.
Thanks,
Andy,
Nick.
what if I told you that the entire beginning with the governor's ball stuff and the weird muskets and all of that, not in the movie?
Are you guys trolling me? This is real shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys need to go back and watch the 90-minute version.
I don't know that I
because
can.
it's a delightful
because
movie.
the 90-minute version's in this movie.
No,
And there's
it's
very little
Tim.
about this movie I enjoyed. Period.
There's so many scenes that are extended in this the 2-hour version that are much shorter and funnier, or like actually funny in the 90 version one. 90 minute version one.
The
watching this,
90-minute
my
version is like. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was just like, this again seems like one of those things where you had to be there at the time. It's like if I were to show a kid Road Trip now or Van Wilder, they'd probably think it fucking sucked, right? And that's how I felt watching this 2-hour version, or I didn't really know there was a different version. I just thought, man, this movie's just not working for me, and I'm kind of bored, and it's not funny, and I'm not happy. Like, I like Clerks a lot more so far.
Yeah, the big problem for me was that like the bigger budget and the look and feel of this actually feeling like a movie was its biggest hindrance, where it's just like all the flaws are now being seen. The seams are all exposed and just ripped the fuck open.
There was also
yeah.
a lot of terrible cuts where like they clearly spliced two scenes together that weren't like, it wasn't done in a way that was seamless, where you can just see like a hard cut all of a sudden. And it's like,
Kev,
oh,
you're
that was
real
weird.
quiet.
This is one of those
Quiet.
this is one of those instances where you guys really should go back and watch the theatrical release, because all of these gripes that you guys have are completely solved in the 90-minute version. It is streamlined.
I don't believe you. I will watch
You
it.
should go back and
Yeah,
watch
but I
it.
feel like
It's
now
not
that like
made
the
from
tone has
magic.
changed and a bunch of things that they're gonna say, you're gonna be like, oh, like remember it with the movie,
The well's
other
been
movie.
poisoned.
Yeah.
Are you talking? Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it's unfortunate because don't get me wrong. I don't think Mallrats is his best film. I went into this remembering Mallrats a lot more in a lot better light than I do when I'm watching it at in 2020 quarantine times when I'm 40 years old. It's still dated a little bit, but there are moments with Jay and Silent Bob that make me laugh out loud. There's a part that got my wife where they turn around and he starts pounding on the glass. He's like, kitty. It got me. I fucking giggled like a motherfucker. But this one's like, this to me is his most commercial film.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, these are the criticisms that I have on it that I guess are going to be completely different than your guys's. It's short. It's streamlined. The scenes are very, very lean. It's only literally just the A plot and the B plot. And there's moments where, I mean, everything just makes sense. And you can tell they cut a lot out of whatever the version you guys are talking about. Having said that, I think that Tim's right? Where I think a little bit of the magic of Kevin Smith is lost because you do bring in relatively good actors. And it's actors saying dialogue that I think, let me back up. I think there was a certain like high school play, like magic to Clerks, where you're like, oh, the kids are trying and they made something good and it's fun watching them do that. But then when you bring in guys like Jason Lee and Shannon Doherty and Joy Lauren Adams, all these people who are actually good actors, the dialogue starts to take on a whole different meaning. And I think that kind of suffers a little bit in this film, because it almost feels, and I keep saying this as I don't know if it's a pejorative or a compliment, but it almost feels like Shakespearean, in that when you watch like Romeo and Juliet, you'd be like, this movie's great, but I really wish I understood what the fuck they were talking about most of the time. Why don't you just write it for a contemporary audience, where a lot of the flowery language in this just doesn't play quite as well as Clerks. I still think it's good.
What's interesting, I came into Mallrats like wincing, right? Because obviously for the longest time, this wasn't one of my, it was my favorite movie. And I think I remember it being a big deal for me and my friend group that it surpassed Ghostbusters. And then eventually Ghostbusters went back
not
up.
just your favorite Kevin Smith movie.
No, but I mean, I'm legit in Andy, I mean, there's multiple conversations and things I want to jump in on, but Andy, you make a great point of like, you had to be there kind of thing. Like, it can't be understated that like, this is the first movie wherever I saw people talking about Superman and putting comics in bags and having conversations about Stan Lee. Like, now, obviously, Stan Lee's been in every Marvel movie. Everybody knows Stan Lee. Like, when his name come up in the credits, Jim was like, "Oh my God, he's in this!" And I'm like, "Yeah." And you would have had no idea who he was probably if you would have watched it back when it came out, right?
This was his first
zero idea.
theatrical appearance, right?
I don't know. I think so. Well, I believe so, but I don't know. But it was that idea of I was wincing of like I haven't seen Mallrats as an adult, you know, in a long time. Can't remember last time I did a viewing of Mallrats. So to come in and sit down for it, I was expecting it to be even worse than I expected it to be bad. Like I was expecting it to not hit, and when it ended, and Jen was like, "I like that. I actually enjoyed it." She, you know, had a bunch of criticisms, obviously, but like me too, that I had fun on that ride. And I think what's interesting about it is, again, now with 20 years of Kevin Smith podcasts and one-man shows and commentary tracks, and then the Mallrats, extended cut, and like to watch it with the eye for what it was, right? Of like, I forget who told them, but like it was somebody from the studio, right? Because they did this and they were like, we're making Porky's. This is going to be this generation's Porky's. Like, this is like what we're going for, right? That crass humor, that crass comedy, taking taking Clerks and dumping the heart of Clerks and just making it like it's going to be a raunchy comedy, and we're going to get all into this and yada, yada, yada. Like, if you remember too, there's a story that like at one point they had it where Jay and Silent Bob, I think maybe both or one of them, but one of them for sure was jerking off next to where Joey Lauren Adams is changing, and it got in her hair, and the studio was like, you get NC-17 if you did that. And then, years later, something like 2 years later, something about Mary did it and made it the poster. But remember too, of like when this was a studio project, like you said, he didn't have the edit. There was all these things involved, and it was like when they had that original cut that you guys watched, right? Like somebody at the studio was like, "It's called fucking Mallrats, and it takes them 45 minutes to get to the mall.
35 minutes.
They have to get to the mall." Or what?
But again, that's not the real version.
Yeah, exactly. And like that became then it got edited into the movie that I watched. It sounds like Nick watched, Kevin has watched, because Kevin texted me last night. He's like, "Did you watch the version with the governor's fault?" I was like, "That's the extended cut." And you're like, "I've never seen this."
Yeah,
I'm like,
it
"Oh
was
god,
so shocking
confusing.
to start the movie and be like, "The fuck is this shit?" I've seen this movie so many times.
Even and like, granted,
I'm not joking. I paused it to make sure I was watching the right movie.
Wait, so you've seen Mallrats before, right?
No, I had never. No. I had never seen Mallrats before. So during this whole the governor's thing and the kid on the roof with what's his face with the musket and the girlfriend. And I legitimately paused it and hit back in the menu to see, is this the right? Did Tim get the right movie?
The other movie, the other version just starts in such a fun way with what Brody having the monologue.
We'll get there. Yeah, like I'm gonna have to recap this entire fucking thing, and they can catch up as they go. Yeah, but I think that's what's so interesting about watching.
I wish that I had seen the other version, because like this movie, it was an atrocity. Like it was so bad. It's not good. Joey's like, I'm done with the Kevin Smith movies.
It sucked. Yeah, I hated it.
That sucks, man. That sucks. That's not like
none of us enjoyed it.
You should go back and watch the 90-minute. It's very fast. It's the movie that it's way more fun than whatever this.
I'm sure. Even then, it's just I struggle to see how.
Because it's
it's all in the edit.
It's a straightforward 90s movie. It's about a guy trying to the majority of the plot centers around Brody trying to get Claire Forlani's character back, and then having to sort of sabotage the dad's show in order to do that, and then realizing that that's all kind of for not all you had to do was talk to her. Like and then Jay and Silent Bob are just these fun side characters that are going around trying to sabotage shit and just failing miserably. That's pretty much it. I think
one major note is that because they don't show what caused the breakup between TS and his girlfriend, you kind of don't like.
Wait, they don't show that in the extended version?
Yes.
No, what? So the extended version gives you way more of it, right?
Way more. So I'm sorry.
He's talking theatrical doesn't ever the governor's ball thing is referenced once by a studio exec and it has no bearing on anything. Yep. It's basically like whatever. Well, you better fucking knock this out of the park after what happened with the governor, and you're just like, all right, cool. Yeah. Like I'm watching that movie, I was never like, I wonder if there's 35 minutes of this governor shit.
But seeing it, you're suddenly like, kind of like, TS is an idiot. Like he definitely caused.
Oh sure, he escalates.
You know what I mean?
Quickly.
Does he tell her that they show that scene where he talks to her about being fat on camera?
No. In this extended version, they get rid of that storyline. That's not even part of this. That anyone died, or that it's connected to Clerks. That's the funeral they went to at Clerks. Instead, he goes.
What? So the beginning of the regular version starts with him going to pick up Claire Forlani, and her going, "I can't go with you because you told the girl that was supposed to be on this show that she was going to look heavy on camera, and she had a weight problem. So she went to the pool and started swimming laps, and then had a stroke and died.
She
now
swam
I
like
have
10
to go
hours
on the
of
show."
laps.
And that girl was the
we
girl
didn't get
so that girl was the one that died in
Got
Clerks, and
it.
he went to the funeral.
So-
It's like a 5-minute
Yeah.
scene that is the whole point of the movie. She breaks up with him because he's selfish, and he's like, "You're a daddy's girl. You got to stand up to your father."
So-
That's the whole crux of that's like the catalyst for the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, you guys didn't watch the same movie, like not in
You guys
any
fucked
way,
up.
but
Yeah.
like in the majority of like
Right.
yeah, like
It's just the
This is a
edit
weird in
changes so
review.
much- yeah,
Yeah.
the edit changes so much of the humor. But on an interesting note, I think this is the first time a movie is like exists in another in review universe that we've done, where Mallrats is referenced in
Captain Marvel.
in Captain Marvel. Yeah, that's cool.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah, that's fun. Do you remember that, Andy?
Yeah, I do.
So we have to now rank Captain Marvel on the views.
Yeah.
Which one are we doing the plot synopsis for? Because if we're doing the plot for the extended edition, I'm going to be lost.
No. I'm
But
doing
it's
the
also
plot for
really
the real movie. Like,
Okay,
that's the
you
movie
should
we
tell them the
rate.
plot of the real movie because it'll. Take
Here's my
less
thing.
time.
We're gonna go through the plot of the
Looking
real
at
movie.
The
Sorry,
plot
go
on the extended cut and the differences, like it does, like there's a lot of other shit, but it's like the real movie's still in it. There are changes, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
but
not
those
like
changes are like
radical.
drastic. I'd say, like with the weird camera crew coming up to the house and recording the dad.
In
like,
the room, in the
yeah.
bedroom, karate.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are trolling me right
Yeah,
now.
no,
Just-
in
you
the
guys got
theatrical-
together,
in
you're
the
fucking around,
theatrical
you're shit up
version-
for Nick.
in the
Let's
theatrical
I
version.
want to hear the normal plot, Greg.
Okay.
plot.
Everybody, let's talk about Mallrats. What happens here is that we open on the Eden Prairie. This is just trapping. We open on a shot of the Eden Prairie Mall and everybody going about their business at the mall. And one Brody Bruce, who is off camera narrating, tells us the story of his cousin Walter, who got a cat stuck up his ass. The whole fiasco happened because he bought the cat at the local mall, so it ended up on the news and everything. A week later, he went back to the mall, bought another cat. That cat got stuck in his ass as well. Same results, different cat. A week after that, Brody runs into his cousin Walter at the mall buying yet another cat. And he says, "Jesus, Walt, you know the same thing's going to happen. You're just going to get this cat stuck in your ass." And he looked at me and said, "Brody, man, how the hell else am I supposed to get the gerbil out?" That's the hard stop into the intro of animated comic book art, or not animated, the comic book covers here of all the different characters you will meet on your journey through Mallrats, including, Kevin Smith showing he is a soothsayer of Ben Affleck is Buttman.
I feel like I'm just gathering around, like hearing Greg tell me a story of a story I've never heard before. This is
I know
interesting.
it's going to be interesting to see what parts you remember, how they changed, how they differ, and everything else. We run through all the comic book covers with a fucking banging soundtrack. Mallrats had a great soundtrack. I own all the Kevin Smith soundtracks through Jay and Silent Bob, and like this was one of my favorites that was in constant rotation. But when it's all said and done, we wake up with T.S. Quint, of course, 2 names from Jaws being brought in here, and then the Jaws wedding, of course, rolling up to his his girlfriend Brandy Svennings's house to pick her up for a week away in Florida. They're going to Florida as a vacation. It's 1 week in Florida, hot Floridian sex, but more importantly, T.S. plans to propose on this trip at Universal Studios on the Jaws ride.
Now, watching this as an adult, didn't you think like you guys are way too young to be doing any?
Oh
of
yeah,
this
of course,
really
way too young, and
weird.
you're not right for each other.
Like,
Why
you're
are
super
they
not
right for each other?
The one thing that I look at I'll tell you why. The one thing I look at when I see this as an adult who's been married for 10 years, and I'm like, these guys are super immature and should not be in relationships, and they're assholes toward these women. Like Shannon Doherty's whole complaint of Brody is basically that he's a shitbag who has no direction in life and is basically hiding their relationship from his mother.
Everybody, yeah.
And it's so and what's funny is like I remember them coming around and having real character growth from when I was young, because that's how stupid I was. But at the end of this, I'm like, wow, the women just capitulate and they completely give in to these asshole guys. And then I guess she marries him.
Yeah. That's the thing where it's like, right. Like, I feel like Shannon Doherty, like in terms of a realistic thing, like the Brody Renee relationship makeup makes so much more sense, where literally he's just like, "I gotta buy you breakfast, and you want to meet my mother tomorrow."
Yes,
like, all right,
at least
cool.
he has
little
that,
step,
right?
that's fine. And TS is like, "Let's get married," and she's like, "Yes." And you're like, I don't,
But, like,
I
literally,
haven't seen you together all movie, and he flipped out at this horrible situation.
And he's so inappropriate. He tries to sabotage her father's fucking career.
Yeah.
No, he
he's an
doesn't try. He
asshole.
succeeds.
He does. And the whole point of it is he's like, he fails to see even at the end that he was wrong in saying like he's like, because you're a daddy's girl, and like you got to stand up for your father. Your father hates me, but her father hates him because he's a fucking loser who is trying to marry his daughter way too young. And granted, the father's an asshole. Shout out to Michael Rooker. But at no point does he realize that I'm like, oh my God, I was totally wrong. Like, you're doing this for your dad, and he's your family, and I should have realized that. And like, if you wrote this a little bit better, there should have been a little bit of a resolve between the dad and him as well.
Yeah, but like they said, they're trying to make a Porky's, right? Yeah. So it is like just he's a bad guy and he's got to be a bad guy. And like Michael Rooker is overly dramatic as a bad guy as well. So it's like whatever.
Remember the part in Porky's where he puts his tongue through the hole and they put soap on it?
Yeah.
Kev, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask: is TS a loser, or is he just going to school full time?
It's that thing where I think honestly, TS is so tofu in this entire movie. Like even like as a kid watching it, even here, it's just like he's just a vessel to get these things to happen, and it's like nothing about him. I know nothing about TS.
I think the more compelling of the characters is Brody.
Outside of Gwen being like he's a great guy, and like I'm like, well, I take her. I see her.
That's the other thing too, is you look at her and you're like, why is he a great guy? She's like, well, I might try to get him back after this. And first off, I'm super confused because for the longest time I thought she was the character from Chasing Amy, and I'm like, I don't remember her sexuality leaning that way. But she's not. They're totally different. And in this one, I'm like, she keeps talking. I'm like, this is so written by a young dude because, and I hate to say things like that, but I'm like, this is like the fantasy of like the woman just comes around to realize that everything you've ever said is right. You don't have to ever admit that you're wrong ever. And it's hilarious.
As I think we will continue to see, especially next week with Chasing Amy, no future spoilers, that these are time capsules for not every person, but definitely certain people's lives. And it's the same way a Clerks was, just being a shitless layabout, right? And you had nothing really to worry about, but it all seemed like you had something to worry about. Here it is of how dumb you are in your early relationships, right? And like next week will be the stupid things you got hung up on early in relationships and early in your life. Quick I digress.
Yeah. Quick question. So you just said this, no future spoilers, but Renee in this movie is not the girl that's on the poster for the next movie?
Gwen, and no, she is not.
Neither is Ben Affleck. They're totally
Ben Affleck is not the same character here either. Neither is Jason Lee.
I think Jason. Yeah, I was gonna say Jason Lee's a different character. The next movie.
They have different names and like.
It'll make when you watch the movies, it'll make sense.
You'll see they're totally different people. Well, Jason Lee's the exact same character, pretty much. But
Nick, now what would you think if I told you that TS and his woman are on top of a roof? And they're arguing, and TS is dressed up as some colonial, like Civil War reenactment thing, and he's got a fake, and he pisses off his girlfriend because his girlfriend's like, oh, blah blah blah. So, what's your name? I keep forgetting her name. I'm sorry. Brandy. He's like arguing with Brandy. TS and Brandy are arguing, and then he grabs her to get her back, Nick, from behind, and he's like, hey, stop, and he gets his musket. His like fake musket that he's using because he's dressed up as a Civil War dude or whatever, gets the musket caught in her hair, and then they're trying to get the musket out of her hair, and they end up aiming at the governor, and then the governor's Secret Service are around her, and they're like, oh, there's a sniper up there, and they start shooting at them on the roof. And they have to avoid gunfire.
If you were to tell me that, I would very respectfully ask you to not talk for the rest of this interview. That sounds horrible. That sounds really horrible.
Yeah. Fun fact there too. Like I talk about like the line to the governor's mansion from the TV exec. The only other thing they couldn't edit around. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that because there's a very hard cut, obviously, on Truth or Date where you're like, wait a second, Brandy's shot is completely different, lit completely differently. Doesn't matter. When they're in the parking lot coming back into the mall after seeing the third nipple, and TS is giving his rant, that guy comes up and he goes, aren't you the guy who broke up with Brandy Spenning? And he fucking punches him for no reason. The original line is like, aren't you the guy who tried to assassinate the governor or something?
Yeah.
He's referencing the governor.
I feel like
the media is chasing him down. Nick.
Yeah.
That scene in the theatrical release, I feel like still works because like they make it seem like that world everyone's so gossipy and knows everyone's business immediately. Yeah.
And he's just I think it still is an escalation for the character.
Oh yeah,
huge. I mean, I know he's having a bad day, but I don't think he'd punch the guy. Like, did you break up with Brandy Spenning?
Brody maybe, but totally. TS, that's a little weird.
Anyways, though, here we are. Yes, TS Brandy out front as he grabs her and says, Brandy's running, come on down. I'm taking your ass to Florida. And I always remember that for some reason. And then they start talking, and it's she has no bags. He's like, she has no bags. He's like, where are your bags? And then he's like, did you see Julie Dwyer last night at the and he's like, yeah, I ran into her at the video store, RST video. And
she's
like, Yeah, exactly. She's like, yeah, did you say something about her looking fat on TV? And he's like, oh yeah, well, I heard that, the camera, I said something like, the camera adds 10 or 15 pounds. Why did she drop out of the show? Because her Brandy's dad is the one putting on this show tonight that Julie Dwyer was going to be on. She's like, not exactly. And instead, she flipped out, went to the YMCA, and just started swimming laps. And in the middle of her 700th lap, she had an embolism in her brain and dropped dead. She's fucking dead. Yeah. And so,
wow,
she's dead. My dad needs somebody to be on this show. We get some cutbacks in now of Michael Rooker using that footage of him doing the karate in the bedroom, of him in a towel in his bedroom doing
with his
karate
butt coming off. And I'll tell you, Greg, this is the thing that when I watched this movie as a child, I was like, Kevin Smith, as an overweight child, I was like, Kevin Smith gets me, because there was two things that defined Nick Scarpino when he was young watching this movie in 1996. One, super overweight. Two, loved doing karate nude right out of the shower into the mirror. Loved it. Yeah. And when I saw Michael Rooker doing that, I was like, I'm not alone, Tim. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Nick, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I'm all about that shit. Yep. Contests all over. Yeah.
Nothing I love more than Kevin and Nick together naked karate.
It's the best way to examine your form.
And then do some katas.
Anyways. So we have the establishment here that Julie was going to be on the dad's show. Now he needs a contestant. TS like, fuck, your dad's probably pissed. I know he hates me. He does this weird look around. Again, we don't know anything about the governor stuff and why he would really fucking hate him. Doesn't matter though. Did you find a way to calm him down? Yes, I agreed to be on the show. TS blows a gasket. How could you agree to be on this show? We're supposed to go to Florida. I had something planned for Florida. She's like, what do you want me to do? I have to help out my father. This is his entire career riding on this. This is what I had to do this or whatever. And then TS escalates it too far, calling her a daddy's girl and saying, oh, she has no backbone and always gives in or whatever. And he thinks it's sick. And she's, you know what I think is sick? This relationship. And so they break up. Sick, she goes back in the house. TS is all mad and gets baback in his fucking weird ass station wagon, clearly borrowed from somebody's parents. We then cut to Brody Bruce's bedroom, where Shannon Doherty knocks on his head to wake him up. And Renee, I was getting caught up there. Renee knocks on his head to wake him up, and he comes through and, Jesus Christ, slaps it away. Brody living in my fucking room growing up, comic posters everywhere, a fucking Sega right there, just chilling out.
Fucking Sega kid, am I right, Tim?
I know, right?
You are
sad.
Well, Nick, what was it like having when you lined up to get the ColecoVision on day one, right? You were 17. What was that like? Was that a big deal for you? Did you have your first son yet? Did you bring him?
Okay, my first son. That was
He's
good.
So
Implying there's more than one. Implying that there's more than one.
Anyways, we enter into a conversation here of, well, first off, Brody didn't want to be woken up, right? But you promised me breakfast, Renee says. And he's like, whatever. And they start having their argument as they're already not in a healthy relationship. Brody digs around, finds his controller, turns on the TV, and has just one of the best fucking lines of all time, where they started back up. She's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I'm finishing my game. She's like, you promised me breakfast. He goes, breakfast come and go, Renee, but Hartford, the Whale, they only beat Vancouver once, maybe twice in a lifetime. He's up 12-2 in the middle of the second or whatever. This escalates more. You hit in the bathroom. She always goes to the bathroom for some reason. No, I wouldn't want your mother to see me. I've never met somebody who lives in this much fear as their mother. They go back and forth again, setting up this while she starts putting on her pants and moving this thing around to crawl out undetected, right? And he asks, like, what the hell, what do you do in the bathroom? And she finally lets him in on what she does in the bathroom and starts explaining. She goes in there and thinks about all the surgeons and doctors and people who are making a difference in this world, right? And she cries, and he goes, Jesus, I'd hate to tell you what I think about in the bathroom. I cry because I have nothing better than to fuck you. And so she throws a letter at his face, slides out the door, or the window, which was actually, I think it was Scott Mosier or Kevin Smith, I forget who, pulling her out the window, because there's no possible way to get out of that gracefully.
Such a weird looking thing.
Yeah, right. But it's just it's a line, obviously put in there again to show that, like, he hides her from his mother and everybody else, right? Slip in after dark.
I will say shout out to Shannon Doherty in this, though, because I think she's really good. I think she's probably the best actor in this whole film. And I like
Ben Affleck's in this Batman.
Ben Affleck's fucking terrible in this.
He is in this.
He's so. I mean, I shouldn't say terrible. He's not terrible, because everything's like, when you compare it to Clerks, this is fucking Academy Award winning as far as the acting is concerned. But Shannon Doherty was such a big deal back then. I mean, this is her. Was she still doing Beverly Hills 90210 at the time, or had that just wrapped? Because I remember thinking, wow, Shannon, because this was, by the way, you guys don't understand this, but like this was back in the time when like you didn't cast TV actors to be in movies. So to see Shannon Doherty in this, I was like, oh my God, they got Shannon Doherty. And like, that's such a weird crossover
According to
thing.
this,
Like,
she left Beverly Hills in 94. So this is a 95 movie, so no.
There was a joke that I never understood until last night where I looked it up where
Willem?
Yeah.
She calls me
Where-
Dick.
Brenda?
Dick?
Well, apparently that
Dick.
was the name of the character at 90210.
She was
Yeah.
Brenda Walsh. Brenda and
I
Brandon
didn't know.
Walsh.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it was very odd. They were brother and sister. They were way too close, and a lot of us theorized that they were making out on the side.
We didn't theorize that. But when
my-
Shannon
that was
Doherty
my
did
fanfic.
move
A
out,
lot of
when
us
she
like
did
fantasized
move
about
out,
it at night.
you remember Tiffany Amber Thiessen moved in, and they still had that connecting bathroom. And one day he opened it up, and she was in her bra and panties there, and like garter belt for some reason. And you're like, "This ain't Saved by the Bell no more, Kelly Kapowski. Let's see what's up."
God,
That was good when they brought her back. Anyways, I digress.
You sure do.
So yeah, okay. So they've broken up. The letter's been thrown. Then we cut to the outside. Time has passed. TS's stupid fucking car pulls back up. He comes out. He pulls in the driveway. He gets out, knocks on the door. Look at this. It's TS and Brody. They're friends. They go down to the basement. TS hits his head on the thing coming down. And then Brody says, usual vault rules apply. Touch not, lest ye be touched. Speaking to his amazing comic collection. And to which TS
Kevin
calls
Smith's
him
collection in real life.
TS, insults him for it of being such an anal retentive bastard. Brody's got the line of like, "Hey man, I tried to teach you how to handle comics in the 5th grade, but no, somebody wanted to play Little League." And again, just hitting so close to home for me, right?
was that part later that comes up where it's like these things should have boards in them? Was that?
That's
did
at
that hit close to home for you?
the dirt mall. That's at when
Yeah,
they're at
the shit mall.
exactly.
One more note, not just Kevin Smith's collection, the collection that he originally sold to make Clerks and then
That he
subsequently rebought. Yeah, it was really cool.
Brody collapses into the couch, we're getting really up in these boxers with this camera shot that'll come up. Meanwhile, TS notices immediately that he has a framed letter over there and is like, "What's this?" And he goes and he says, "Oh my God, Renee dumps you." And they start going back and forth. And Brody's like, "Yeah, all this other stuff. You'll notice she insults my dick, but it comes after the financial question, proving once again what women really look for in a man." And then TS has she calls you callow. He's like, "I thought that was the only part of the letter that was complimentary." And you need to find what callow is.
That's like one line that I enjoyed.
TS collapsed on the couch. Right, I too am now in the framing business. Holy shit, Brandy dumped you. They go back a little bit and forth about, yeah, this is what's happened. Blah, blah, blah. Weren't you supposed to go to Florida? Yeah, we're gonna go today. It gets worse. I was gonna propose. Then we get into the crassness of this Porky's thing of like, let me ask you a question. You ever fart in front of her? And then it turns out that Brody never once farted in front of Renee, not once, but last week he let one slip, and today she dumps him. TS is like, she wouldn't be that shallow. Brody's like, well, she was going down on me at the time. and he's, what can I say? When I'm relaxed, I squirt. If she dumps your ass, that's the least, or that's, you got off easier, or light, or whatever. Then it is the question though, again, as we're hauling through this movie, as it told them to make this movie go. You know what would ease our pain? Ritual suicide. No, you idiot, the mall. Oh, I prefer ritual suicide. Come on, they got these new cookie stands at the cookie stand. You gotta try. Fucking hard cut. We're at the goddamn mall. We have made it to the Eden Prairie Mall.
And how long is this into the theatrical
15
cut?
minutes.
15
maybe 20.
minutes,
Yeah,
15.
I
very
think
quick.
it's like the first act turning point. Like all this stuff's has been set up. We've set up all the characters like a traditional movie, and then we're at the fucking mall. And of course, the first couple people we see is Jay and Silent Bob. Also, is this where they have the discussion that I really think we should spend a lot of time about, which is that is the cookie stand part of?
I mean,
the
you're
food
way
court?
ahead of the movie. Like, you know what I mean? This is why you can't go off book like Greg Miller. All right.
Well,
I'm
Nick,
sorry, Greg.
in the extended cut,
Andy, we've asked you to be silent for the rest of the movie about these.
the media is trying to find TS because
God,
he
I
tried
hate
shooting the governor. So they go over to Brandy's house and they're like, damn, the media's here, the paparazzi, they're gonna try to talk to me. And then Jason Lee's character Brody is like, I'll go talk to the media, you sneak in to her house in the back. And that's when they see Michael Rooker
It's so
doing
upsetting.
the karate stuff. And then the media ends up recording Michael Rooker, and Brody's telling the media that Michael Rooker does satanistic
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
rituals, satanic rituals. It's very, very weird. It's very
Another good point that like I forgot about actually, because I didn't see the extended edition like anybody else for years and years and years and years. there is another line there. You're right, because in the extended cut that I haven't watched in also years and years and years, right? He tells the media he's the neighbor, which isn't true. And then when later on in our movie, the real movie, when he walks up with the chocolate covered pretzels and he's like, "Oh, my neighbor." I always thought it was a weird presentation of neighbor. And then why would you fucking bury your neighbor like this? In fact, it wasn't a real neighbor. It was tied to this whole thing.
I just always thought they lived in the same neighbor. Like all of them lived in the same neighborhood.
Me too. No, totally. I thought for sure that Brody like grew up next door or whatever. Yeah.
What a strange thing.
Anyways, we arrive at the mall. We walk in and immediately bump into Shannon Hamilton, the proprietor of Fashionable Mail, Ben Affleck, here in a giant, oversized gray suit. Also sleeping on Kevin Smith's couch while this is being filmed, and hearing him because Kevin Smith was dating Joey Lauren Adams at the time, getting big fights all the time. And he left a very nice thank you note, I guess, when he left.
It's crazy the amount of big suits that I've consumed in the last couple of weeks with the Michael Jordan documentary with Ben Affleck.
Oh, they're so big.
They're so huge, these suits. Big suits.
They get into this scuffle here. They run into each other. Spills his beverage a little bit. Brody's what, you got something? Shannon Hamilton, what, you got something to say? Brody's like, about a million things, but I can't express myself monosyllabically enough for you to understand them. And then they just leave, even though eventually he was ready to kick his ass. This seems like it would have been the perfect setup, or whatever. They separate there. TS gets the rundown from Brody of this asshole from Fashionable Mail, an upscale wannabe shop on the second floor. And he's, what do you want to do first? I want to go back to Brandy's. Brody's like, listen, you face forward or you face the possibility of shock and damage, and turns around and immediately runs into a girder. He gets knocked down.
Such a good moment.
And if you listen to commentary, that's another one of their like gags they put in for themselves, that dude with one fucking steel beam walks behind every shot of like every time they talk about the stage, he's just like walking around with this fucking
trust guy
for no reason.
Yeah. But it's also like not the trust. It's not the trust they even used for the stage. It was not
at all.
It's not like shitty DJ trust that you can only put up like 5 feet in the air.
Which is, by the way, Nick's DJ name. The way he looks right now.
Shitty DJ trust.
I'll take it, Andy. I'll take it.
DJ trust.
In your alternate reality, what's been going on in your movie world? What happens at this point? Do they go to fucking Mars and try to mine for hydrogen?
Yeah. Will Smith shows up. It's crazy.
Brody sits up and goes, "What the hell was that? What the hell's going on?" And this is Brody's mall, right? He knows everything that goes on here, but somehow he's missed the fact this is happening. TS has the incredibly awkward line of, "It looks like a stage is being erected." They look over, there is a stage being erected. Why is that happening? Here's a soul that would know, and they head over, and it's Willem staring at a 3D magic eye picture. Of course, Willem will be in the movie Vulgar later on. He will be in Boy Meets World. And he will be in My Name is Earl with Jason Lee later on. He will also lose a ton of weight and look great.
A lot of these guys, this is their first acting like in a movie, right?
Yes, I'm
Willem,
not. I believe so. I think Ben Affleck. That's the story here too. Like I can't remember though, and I didn't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah,
but yeah, and like I guess too that like apparently Willem put all the actor put all those like stains on his shirt on his own. Kevin Smith's like, all right, cool, whatever. I guess that's what this character is. Sure, whatever. So Willem's sitting there staring at this magic eye thing that, of course, were a big hit in the '90s. Everybody, I don't know if you remember.
I love him. I had a magic eye book.
Cool. And he's there staring at him. Brody and TS got him off guard for a second, and then they go and do the whole thing. What's going on? If you look at it, you'll see a picture. TS immediately sees the sailboat. Willem gets super pissed. He's been staring at it from opening to closing forever. He can't see a goddamn thing. But today's his day. He packed a lunch, brought a soda. He's gonna sit here until he sees this fucking thing or goes blind trying.
My favorite fucking line in this whole movie. Yeah. The kid's like, a schooner, and he's like, it's a sailboat, you dumb bastard.
Yeah, like jokes like that. Just I love style of comedy like that, where it just reminds you of old school Sandler movies. Moments like that are so like that same sort of style of comedy. I also forgot that Willem, remember the Titans as well. Forgot him.
I just looked him up now, and Jesus Christ, he's jacked.
Yeah,
he looks great now.
That's crazy.
Ethan Suplee is his name, or Ethan Suplee. What's his name?
Ethan Suplee,
yeah. I read a piece of trivia somewhere, and I could be completely wrong because apparently we all watched 15 different movies. But did they try to cast? Was Adam Sandler originally tried? Did they try to get him for this at some point? Yeah, I think they were trying to do like an Adam Sandler, Chris Farley thing for this.
And they were trying to get Seth Green to be Jay, and Kevin Smith was super fighting it, and then eventually Jay won out. Like even the studio's like, no, it has to be him.
It would have been hilarious if they cast fucking Seth Green as Jay.
They just recast Jay all of a sudden.
It's terrible.
All right, so then yeah, he's gonna see the goddamn thing or go blind trying. What's the deal with the stage over here? It's not a stage, it's a sailboat. No, over here. Oh, they're doing some stupid game show, Truth or Date. That actually is Brandy's father's show. That's where Brandy's gonna be auctioned off there. It's all happening here in the mall. Oh my god. What do we gotta do? We gotta stop this show from happening. Well, I can't do that. I'm already in the doghouse. If I fuck this is TS. If I fuck up the show, then like of course Brandy will never be with me. Her father will never allow it. And Brody's like, you're thinking too hard about this. We hire somebody else we fucking get a hitman to ruin this show. We're off scot-free. Nobody knows you did it. Show doesn't happen. Same outcome regardless of credit. And he's like, well, who would be the hatchet man? And he goes, not hatchet man, hatchet men. Then we are introduced once again in color for the first time to Jay and Silent Bob rocking out, on the kitty glass, dancing, slapping into the glass. Kevin Smith in this weird giant black trench coat rather than the coat from before.
I love that it's a giant leather trench coat.
Yeah, right. Right.
So it's like
it's 90s,
not only is it super big and super obnoxious, but it's also probably very heavy and very hot. I can see Kevin wearing that as like his new thing. And
unfortunately, I'm too short to wear trench coats, and it breaks my heart.
Kevin, we can get. Have you ever heard of a tailor? We'll get that thing popped
up.
We can get it right above the feet.
Nick, I've tried on several trench coats that are the right size. It just makes me look really short. It's
Kev,
a design thing. I'm listening.
Hear me out, Kev. Trench coat.
Yeah,
we got and you get a cape as well. You get that cape we've always been wanting, right? The little the fashion male capes with the red shoes.
Don't do that, Kevin. As your friend, I'm just saying, don't. I
don't hate it. I don't hate it, Andy. I don't hate it.
What about a highwayman trench coat, like one of those big Western trench coats that also has the cape built in? That'd be pretty cool.
Undertaker.
Maybe we get you some cowboy boots.
Now we're talking.
Oh, anyways, here's Jay and Silent Bob. Here's Brody and TS. They start talking. There's a lot of awkward stuff here. Brody obviously really tight with Jay and Bob. Jay stage dives into him. They push him off. Bob's doing a guitar thing. There's a Wolverine berserker here where he's imitating his antimatter claws.
But I love that he has to tell you what it is. He's like, see, what he's doing here is Wolverine berserker. Dude, and I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was called.
Yeah, but well, exactly. At the time, nobody would have thought the
little throwaway like naming too, where he's like, "Should I call you Weapon X, Logan?" He's like, "No, Wolverine," and it's just like, oh, he's fucking nerds. I love it.
He's fucking nerds.
Jay Muse will go on to name his daughter Logan.
That's right.
Weapon X.
But here it is presented of like, right, we want your help. Can you ruin the show? Oh, we're gonna do that anyway. Why? Just because. Okay, cool. Silent Bob has figured out that there's a weakness in it, like the fucking Death Star. One pin, you pull it out, biggity bam, the thing collapses. Everybody's happy. The only problem is LaForce. Who's LaForce? You don't know who LaForce is. They don't know who LaForce is. LaForce is the best security guard in the business. Has a whatever it is, 49 people. I heard he's got 2 kills. Yeah.
And I love this guy, by the way, because he was in every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Was he?
He was just like he was like a random dude that Schwarzenegger, I think, used to lift with, and Schwarzenegger like threw him into movies. His name's Sven something. I think that's him. But I think he was in. I want to say he was in Running Man. I might be mistaken. That continue.
No, I'm looking. LaForce is Sven Ole Thorson. I got my IMDb pulled up.
I think he was a lifter. I think he knew Schwarzenegger, and they were like back in the day.
So yeah, they're in to destroy it. They'll destroy it for it. They'll do anything. It'll be great. Next time you pop your old lady, make sure you call her Jay. Snoogans. Oh, this is also when all the Snoogans and Gucci's and shit start.
Fucking great. Snoogans.
It's definitely all of a sudden the characters go in a very different direction of where we knew them from Clerks. Not, I guess, that different, but different.
You can tell
get more defined.
This is to me where like you finally like this is Jay and Silent Bob that we know. This is the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
The original was like, you're like, okay, they're trying to make these characters have a little more edge, and they're drug dealers, and they just sort of like embrace that these two are idiot knuckleheads, and they're going to be comic relief from here on out.
Right, they're not really a threat, no matter how they may portray themselves.
World.
Exactly, Tim. I don't get
all of those, the Snoogans and all that. Yeah, you could just tell that those were like inside jokes that they had with each other, and threw them into movies. Like if we were to have a movie, there'd be a lot of Mima, there'd be a lot of Mookie, there'd be a lot of Uchi Buchi.
I'm just kidding, Momo. My favorite though is when he's like Nooch. He just randomly like
the funny thing is
Bucci, he just shortens it to Nooch.
Those are added in because that's how Jason Mewes actually talked. He would say random things like that, and when it was added in, it was Kevin. Like Jason was like, I don't think I can say this, and it's like, dude, you say these things. this is how you go around talking, and a lot of reflection.
Yeah, like
there.
we
Gotta
did like
believe.
a cool Greg movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gonna ruin it. That's great. It's finally good to make good on the cookie stand bit from earlier, because of course this movie's all about paying off on things they've said. So yeah, we Brody and TS get their cookies from the cookie stand and start to walk to a bench while discussing, of course, what's bound to come up. No, I'm telling you, there's no way. It's bound to come up. They're engaged. There's no way Lois could have Superman's kid. Again, like I'm watching this on in a VHS. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe a conversation I'd want to see in Wizard is happening on the silver screen right now. But yeah, he'll blow a lope like a shotgun to the back. Only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom, but that would kill him. They talk a little bit more about that. Wonder Woman has a strong enough uterus to carry his child. And then they're TS is like, I can't believe I went from the verge of hot flirty and sex with Brandy to Man of Steel debates or about Man of Steel sex life in the food court. And Brody immediately sees the error in this and goes, cookie stand's not part of the food court. Then it's the argument of, no, yes, it is. It's an eatery. Eateries count as part of the food court. Eateries that operate within the said designated area are part of the cookie stand. The cookie stand's upstairs. The food court's downstairs. It's not like we're talking quantum physics.
Those lines of like mundane dialogue are what I've enjoyed about these movies so far, and I just feel like there wasn't enough of that in this movie. Well,
right.
At least
they try to make this into like Tim was talking about earlier, right? Of like a bigger budget. We're going to use this thing, but and I think they lose. Like I'm talking about the heart of Clerks, where exactly. I love this conversation. I love the argument about comics. I love all that. That's where I wanted to see him stick more with.
Agreed.
However, yes, the cookie stand's not part of the food court. The food court is the food court. It's
Clearly.
all the eateries gathered together, right?
Now the question is this though, because at the mall that we go to, Stonestown, the cookie stand is just a little bit around the food court, but it's not in the actual quadrant of the food court. Where do we come
here's
down
the
on this?
thing.
I still think that one counts because it's attached.
Yeah, I was
if there
gonna
was
say,
a store in between, it would not count.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
just like
eater. Yeah.
Now,
just like cookies rule everything about me is downstairs.
That is
not
not part of the food court.
That's horseshit.
But one question I have for you guys is they're adding a second food court. Does this change the dynamics of the like what food court A and food court B? Like, how are we gonna handle this?
Yeah, no, it'll be fancy food court. It's just like downtown
You think
mall.
so?
Yeah.
Where there's two food courts, same mall.
Oh, I love fancy food court. I like spending $20 on a fucking bowl of Chinese food.
Remember when they had that Bristol Farms there? You could just walk in and get food there.
You know, I loved that
They
until
got
I
rid of
saw
that.
a homeless person literally
put
just
his hand in
eating
it.
out of the deli. Like he was
Yeah,
just
that's
there was the
horrifying.
sushi area with all the poke, and he was just putting his hand in there and eating out of it. And I was
Please
like,
don't
I'm
share that
never eating
story.
here again,
I hate it.
ever.
Anyways, in the middle
Pokey.
of this, Brody goes, now if you want to wax poetic about it, and then cuts himself off, and because he looks across the way and sees Renee, his now ex-girlfriend, in a clothing store. TS goes, what? And he goes, cherchez la femme. And he gets up there and goes in there, and it's Shannon Doherty's Renee. That would look awful on you. Didn't I dump your ass this morning? They started bantering back and forth about possessions he needs back, his Punisher War Journal #2 or whatever is remote control to his TV. She's like, if I have any of that shit, it's because you left it at my house. Then he goes, we have to go over shared visitation rights or custody rights. And she's like, of what? Of the mall. And he has the line of like, I'll take odd days and weekends. You take even days. Now, if there's some special event like a boat show, and she goes into the whole line here, right? Of like, hey, listen, I put up a lot of your shit, right? When it was prom night, you asked me at the hotel prom night, you asked me to sleep under the bed in case your mom burst in.
God.
I did it. When you wanted a striptease for your birthday to the Mighty Mouse theme, I did it. And then she grabs his ear, right? But if you think I'm gonna suffer through any more of your shit now that we've broken up, you're in for a world of pain or hurt.
A fact about her that's really weird is while shopping, Renee is seen wearing at least 3 different outfits. Doherty had a clause in her contract that she could keep everything her character wore. So she came up with the plan that her character should wear everything she bought on her shopping trip.
I love that. That's so
That's
cool.
thinking smart. That's how you think smart.
I'm like, did you not make enough money on Beverly Hills 90210? You got to fucking cheat Kevin Smith out of the extra $200.
But it's not Kevin Smith.
It's
It
so-
was Miramax or whatever, right?
It's so
Universal.
weird. Actually, I don't think this one
Was it Universal?
Miramax. Was this a different one?
This is Universal.
Focus.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, it's just like
Focus.
different. This one, I think, this one wasn't. But
it
it's
was
Universal-
Focus, and then Universal later did it. Later
It's
on,
so
whatever.
off-putting because at a certain point you're like, did she fucking go home and change
No.
3 times? Like, why would you? What human being buys an outfit, changes into it, and then buys another outfit? And
You've never done that?
And
You
at
never
one
gone
point,
and bought
All due respect,
shoes?
I never noticed. I never ever noticed.
Me either.
you changing your outfits. What
I didn't notice until this last point when I was watching it with Dee, and she was like, "Did she fucking change clothes again?" I was like, "She did. She was wearing a white shirt earlier, and then at one point, she starts trying on panties
No,
just
that
in the
was
middle of the store."
that's
And I'm like,
Gwen, that's Gwen.
"Oh, that's Gwen. That's right. Okay."
but she's
That
wearing
was-
panties underneath,
Nick.
so there's
Still,
no contact.
there's a little bit
There's
of-
no contact.
There's a little bit of choo-choo going on there.
And
Nick,
again,
now what would you
that's
do if I
because-
told you that in the extended edition she wore a full NFL uniform with shoulder pads? No, I'm kidding. You never know, man.
Anyway, we
I would
jumped
buy
to
it if that was a thing.
Jay and Silent Bob's first plan of attack here to pull out the pin and bring down or this is the one that they're going to knock out LaForce.
Yeah, they got
Right.
the
Yeah,
sock
they're
with
gonna knock out
the
LaForce.
coins in it.
So
and
it's
he's
got the
swinging
sock
it.
full of quarters. They're filling up this disgusting sock with not nearly enough quarters to knock somebody out because they're fucking morons, right? Jay's got the big old blueprints that are funny and have a whole bunch of jokes on them when you read them. He's explaining the plan, of course. When they're about to go and filling it, a kid comes over to look over the shoulder. Bob mimes that he's going to hit him. The kid runs away. It's go time. Bob gets up, starts swinging the quarters, starts running. He's taking off at full speed. He's coming at LaForce with it. The kid sees what's going on and wheels out his wooden toy. Bob steps on that like a skateboard from Back to the Future. He starts sailing out of control. Rather than hit LaForce in the head, he hits him in the hands and drops like this disgusting sock of quarters into LaForce's hands, who doesn't mind at all. And then he, out of control, shoots across the mall where he smashes into the first the female stores to break in on Gwen, where he smashes through a wall and Gwen is changing in there and she freaks out. We're then back to TS and Brody. God, I don't know why I'm stalling on that.
It's funny though, because like now that you put this in context of them trying to make a Porky's movie, these scenes make a lot more
totally
sense.
right. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always thought that was so. I'm like, it's so weird that they just randomly decided to show boobs here. Like they didn't need to do. I don't think it's this one. I think it's the next one. But I was like, I mean, shout out. I always thought Joey Lauren Adams was gorgeous, and I was like, good that she would do this. But I always just thought, I'm like, this movie did not need just a random one-off boob shot in it.
I
guess it makes
We're not
sense.
there yet. That's the next one.
10-year-old
I always
Kevin's
thought she
just-
was I always thought she was Jennifer Tilly.
No, very similar voices.
Yeah, the
Jennifer
way they
Tilly, of course-
talk.
Jennifer Tilly, of course, did not star in the seminal film Biodome with
True.
Pauly
Good
Shore.
point.
And then I
For
realized,
example,
oh, this is the woman from Big Daddy, the one that ends up dating Adam
Correct.
Sandler in Big Daddy.
She's great in that. She's great in that one too.
She also was dating Kevin Smith for a long time, right?
Yeah, as I said earlier, during
Tim,
this-
when are we gonna stop being cowards and do Adam Sandler interview?
I don't know, man.
Like, here's the thing.
A lot of
After
winners in
watching this movie, I'm like, anything's on the board now.
Anything,
like
man.
yeah.
Anything.
No,
Mr.
but
D.
see,
Unfair,
that sucks. I
unfair,
hate that you guys
unfair
have
comments.
Yeah,
Unfair comments for me
it's
too. I don't
this-
like it at all.
this is
So now we're back to Brody and TS. They're riding down the escalator. The kid passes. He's sitting
Great.
on the escalator, tugging on.
Great.
I hope his pants get caught in a bloodbath ensues. Kind of harsh, don't you think? Not a year goes by. Not a year that I don't read about some dumb shit kid getting caught on the escalator and horribly killed.
So
And I don't want
true.
his parents to suffer this tragedy, but they have to learn how to manage their child. As we come down, though, we are introduced to one Trish the Dish Jones. This is Trisha Jones, who is Alyssa Jones's sister. Alyssa Jones will be important next movie as we keep chronicling all these.
Oh,
things.
let me write
wait,
that
hold
one
on
down.
a
Greg.
second.
Exactly, yeah.
Didn't
Something
we
funny
meet-
that I noticed as you were doing this, Greg, when you do the plot, when you reenact quotes from anybody, they all sound like Randall from Clerks, because all of these characters sound identical.
Sure.
Like they're all just like the same person, but like it's either
Different
like,
shades of
yeah, exactly.
I'll understand.
Well,
it.
the Brody character is essentially the Randall from Clerks. And it's like these characters are exactly the same as the characters from Clerks. They're just slightly better actors.
in Clerks, we meet one of wait, what's her name?
And the other Jones sister.
Yeah. So does she have two sisters?
Yes, that is possible.
Okay.
I believe you have to as well.
I'm just double checking the facts.
Yeah,
here,
they're not
'cause
the same
I never
character. They're not
realized
the
that
same
she was Trish's, or she was.
If you want to get into the spider web too, yes, the Jones sister from Clerks is there with Rick Darris, the trainer. Rick Darris is also the Rick Darris here who fucks Gwen on a pool table.
Yes.
So Rick Darris in this universe is the guy from high school that everybody cheats on everybody with.
Yeah.
Rick
Okay.
Darris was hot. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
He was.
We
hot, you know what
saw
I mean?
Rick Darris.
Brody slaps the journal out of Trish's hands. She calls him a dick. They sit down and we're introduced that Trish is a 15-year-old who is writing a book about sex and the female orgasm called Borgasm, the study of the male mind or whatever the hell it is. and that she's sleeping with basically a man from every age bracket and coding her research, and she's got a $20,000 advance. And you're like, isn't this pedophilia? Even if your parents know about it, is that legal? Can we?
No,
is this legal?
No,
definitely not. I mean, I don't think there's any state where your parents can just sign a waiver and let a 25-year-old bang your 15-year-old daughter. I think the DA would probably have a little bit of a problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's
like
even in New Jersey.
I forget if the extended edition goes into it or if it's just a deleted scene, but there's a scene at the end of this one, even when they do like the where are they now thing, where LaForest kisses Trish on the head because he fucked her too.
No, in the extended version, you see there's a cut to them fucking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, everybody. Enjoy that.
However, 40-year-old man. Yeah.
This is the setup to be crass and talk about sex and have her little journal of eyelashes if she comes and fucking a house or outside. Because this is some cutting edge research she's doing here in terms of what it's like to fuck people. But they go back and forth about that, basically introducing her, explaining that the kid is back on the escalator. We continue to get the escalator jokes, which is good, and that will go on every time you're at the mall. You'll see or hear somebody make a joke about that. Usually, not anymore, probably, but back in the day. Anyways, this conversation goes on, and eventually it's back to the same thing of like they're talking a little bit about the breakup too, of how they're taking it, and blah blah blah. And she's like, "All right, well, good luck with the comic book store." And you're here with no agenda as per usual. I'm here for comics. Later on, she says, "Good luck with the comic book store." And so we leave off of Renee. They're already been the conversation here, right? Because is this the one where I threw away like a parking ticket, or that might be a conversation with Gwen? But it doesn't matter because basically Trish knows all about the breakup, and we walk away going, "God, Renee's got a big mouth." And then it's and what does that mean? Good luck at the comic book store. And they walk to the comic book store, or just basically turn to it. And he's like, "And what the hell is this?" And we turn, the camera flips or whatever. There's a line there. It says 1 hour from this point, a whole bunch of people lined up. Brody immediately cuts the line. "Step aside, Red." Walks in there. And then it's the classic, "You tell him Steve Dave" line from Walt Flanagan, right? Steve Dave being like, "I was warned about you." Warned. And so it's basically, you have to get the hell out of here, whatever. You're not supposed to be here. We don't want you disrupting this entire event or whatever. Fuck you, fanboy. And there's a pushing and shoving match. Eventually, Steve Dave blows the whistle. The cops come over. They're about to make some moves. Actually, I blew past the line too. Wait, just because you think a guy reads comics, he can't start some shit? As it all starts to go and the police run over there, we hear a scream from off camera. "There's a little boy caught in the escalator." And they all run over there to deal with the escalator.
Good line.
Really good. At this point, TS grabs a guy and is like, "What is going on? Don't hit me. What is going on over here?" And he's like, "Stan Lee's signing comics." And Brody is like just mystified that Stan Lee's there, but we'll get those lines of dialogue in a second. Instead, from here, we jump to the next attempt. Hold on. Sorry.
Before we make that jump, let me tell you guys about our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are brought to you by MeUndies. Summertime dreaming. These are the days when visions of sunshine and surf dance through our heads, probably now more than ever as we collectively mold into our couches. But we got to keep the dream alive. MeUndies is committed to the cause by keeping you in a constant stream of uninterrupted, dream-inducing undie comfort. And along with many of my friends here, can confirm that MeUndies are the softest undies that I've ever owned. I like to adorn my body as much as possible with this undies fashion, including the lounge pants, the undies themselves, the socks, the shirts. It's just great. Kev, what you rocking today?
Let me take a little look here. Oh, little pizzas.
I got little polar bears.
Ooh,
I need to do laundry, so unfortunately, I'm missing out right now on the MeUndies magic.
So much magic, man. MeUndies are made from micromodal and an irresistibly soft, sustainable fabric that encases your nether regions in a cloud of comfort. It's magically made from trees. Another reason to give them a hug. There you go. MeUndies are offered in a range of sizes from extra small to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for you guys right now for any first-time purchasers. You can get 15% off and free shipping. All you got to do is go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning to get 15% off your first order. Free shipping, 100% satisfaction guarantee. MeUndies.com/morning. And also, shout out to hymns. A common issue that men face but don't always want to talk about. You can think long and hard about that one. It is ED. 40% of men by age 40 struggle from not being able to get and maintain an erection. So for some reason, a lot of guys turn to really weird solutions for this or do nothing when they can totally solve all of this with science. You can check out Hims and discover the tiny pill worthy of a big celebration. Forhims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Hims connects you with real licensed doctors and FDA-approved pharmaceutical products to treat ED and hair loss. Andy and Nick have been doing the hair loss thing for a while. What do you guys got to say about that?
Love it. I highly recommend these products. I've been using the Finasteride, which is a prescription that's very, very easy to get when you go to forhims.com. They'll connect you with that doctor and they'll see if that's right for you. Also, using the shampoo, which I love, and the vitamins, which I can't get enough of.
You should look back at that photo of Nick and Fran. Like, Nick was thin up top.
It was getting to the point where it was like somebody could play pool with my head. They could just use me as the old cue ball.
I got my
now I'm happy to say that was, by the way, that was like 12 years ago. So I have more hair now than I had 12 years ago. I can honestly stand by that, and it's largely thanks to Four Hims.
I got my new shipment. I'm really excited to get started on that new batch. But yeah, it's been working for me great. Totally stopped. It seems to have stopped hair loss completely, which is great. And yeah, it's awesome. Really happy with it.
You can try Hims today by starting out with a free online visit. Go to forhims.com/KFMS. That's FORHIMS.com/KFMS. Forhims.com/KFMS. Prescription products are subject to doctor approval and require an online consultation with a physician who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. You can see the website for full details and safety information. This could cost hundreds if you went in person to the doctor's office or pharmacy. Remember, that's forhims.com/KFMS. There we go, Greg.
So now it's time for the second plan from Jay and Silent Bob. Again, we're back to the blueprints. The idea here is that Silent Bob will be anchored to the top of the ceiling or the roof. He will swing across. He will grab the one bolt that is the Death Star weakness, pull it out. The entire stage will collapse. They will dance on the ruins and be amazing. So we're from the blueprint to Bob being up, hoisted above by a very loose rope that would not do anything the way they want it to, but whatever. He's got a Batman helmet on. Right before he goes, he opens his jacket like a 1989 Batman to have it like be a bat cape. Jumps off. Jay jumps up. Fly, fat ass, fly.
So
Bob
great.
comes sailing across, going towards, it goes right over the top of LaFours, knocks his hat off. LaFours just looks around at the breeze, swings up, narrowly missing the pin he needs to pull, and instead smashing through Fashionable Girl, or what is it, Gossip Girl, or whatever, smashing through into another women's clothing shop, right through the crotch of their model outside on the painting, and busting in again to Gwen's dressing room, where she is, in fact, topless. She punches the top of the hat after calling him an asshole, and then we get something just crashed into our store. From there, we're down into the real food court. TS and Brody are there. Brody again just going, how could something like this get by me? The name amongst names. I must be slipping in my old age. At the fact that Stan Lee could come to his mall and he wouldn't know about it, which is quite embarrassing for how into the mall and comics Brody is.
He really doesn't seem like he knows much about this mall, because he also didn't know that the show was happening there.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Maybe he hasn't been there in a long time, you know?
But he's also kind of a lazy shitbag, so maybe he just says he knows a lot about the ball, but really doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He does point out later that, you know, he hasn't he made it clear in his friendship he doesn't know, and he's always talking out of his ass or sticking his hand in it. He doesn't know shit. Anyways, though, while they're lamenting the fact that Stan Lee could come to the mall and they wouldn't know, Jay and Silent Bob run into the food court, hide behind them. LaFours comes in, giving chase. You could easily see them, and it wasn't that far behind, but, you know, fucks off. Jay and Silent Bob sit down after being told he's not there anymore. And basically that the human brown eye here is a walking calamity. We got to not do this, otherwise it's liable to get us killed. No big deal. You know, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. You know, thanks for the effort, kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. And so they're back to square one on stopping this thing. While that happens, they decide to leave for the next thing. I forget what. Jay and Silent Bob stay there. Jay and Silent Bob sit there. Is it that Jason Lee Brody sees Shannon?
Yeah, getting
Hamilton?
on the elevator.
Yeah, so he sees from across the way Shannon Hamilton and Shannon Doherty over there. Renee and Shannon getting in line for the elevator or whatever.
I was looking at little facts, and I saw that Shannon Hamilton was a nod to Shannon Doherty because she had married someone named something Hamilton. So her name, very briefly, was Shannon Hamilton. That's why he got that name.
Fascinating. Yeah. And so, yeah, Brody's basically like, run a distraction on Shannon Hamilton so I can talk to Renee.
What a tough task to do. Distract this man so that I can get on the elevator with his like girl that he's trying to date.
So tough.
Well, luckily in classic fucking Ben Affleck movie roles for this time period, he's just a one-dimensional I'm an asshole and mad at the world. So all he has to do is make you're like, oh, it's your girlfriend over there, and they immediately get into this match, or not even match really. It was just like Shannon Hamilton just shouting down at T.S. Quinn. Haven't you heard the phrase, the customer's always right? Here's one. The customer's always an asshole. While all this is happening, the door to the elevator opens. Brody swoops up, grabs Renee, gets on the elevator, shuts the door, and she hits him with the bags, and they start arguing, talking about like everything wrong with their relationship. Right? Again. There's a great part in here of like the. Do you care when two major comic book labels are crossing? She's running through all the shit that he cares about, and like, I took you shopping all the time. Yeah, to the places you want to shop at. Fucking, I don't give a rat's ass or whatever about the Dirt Mall and its Godzilla bootlegs or whatever. And then I want to be told I'm pretty. I wanted this. I want to, blah, blah. I called you all the time. Renee, my mom's asleep. Come over. And Brody's like, this guy does all this in the span of one day. This guy already introduced me to his mother.
Yeah,
it's so great because they have a date. Like, yeah, they've been broken up for all of 2-3 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
They've got a date at the cheese house. He's met her mother. They've gone shopping. They're doing all this stuff today. And then it's more into how they all stayed up all night playing video games, which has an enormous effect on your libido. Now we attack my libido. There's no libido to attack. No libido to attack. And they go at each other to a cover of Build Me Up Buttercup. And so they're in there having very awkward kissing scenes. And I forget why it's so awkward. I think maybe they just didn't like each other, but I remember on the commentary they talk about it. And once you hear Jason Lee talk about it, you see the way they just kiss into each other's like shoulders. Like they don't like each other physically at all. But the scenes,
if I remember correctly, Shannon Doherty wasn't that nice of a person back in the day.
Yeah, I remember
hearing that. That could be making that up. But I just remember people being like, she's kind of mean.
Yeah. So that's they're in there having sex outside. More people are piling up for the elevator. TS is there and he has a line. You sure you're sorry? Get on. Maybe she was getting off, which immediately angers Ben Affleck's character again. As like, come on, that's a normal thing to say. It's funny because we know what's happening in the elevator. Do you know what's happening in the elevator? Anyways, we come in post sex. Brody gets up dancing there. That was nice, spontaneous. Yeah. That was too little, too late. Too little. You said it was a good size, huh? The effort and she drops the hard R here. The effort you are. The effort was too little.
Yeah, they
too
said
late.
that a couple times. I was like, yeah. That was the time.
Exactly. It was a time period of like, you could say that. And yeah, but when a girl says it's a nice size, it's a nice way of saying it's small. Hey, she opens the door, comes off the elevator. Brody sees TS, grabs TS, pulls him on. Shannon Hamilton sees Brody in there, goes, but the elevator doors have already closed. Don't worry about him. He gave me something he forgot to give me a long time ago. He's harmless. However, Shannon Hamilton's pissed now. He's got to go back to fashionable male, so he walks off. And then Renee looks at the elevator, and there's like Silk Stockings, like musical interlude of like, wow, of like her thinking about pining, I guess, for Brody or whatever. Now
I don't remember that.
I love, by the way, that I don't know if it's here or like later, where she talks about how Brody is a shitbag, and that the reason she's dating Shannon is because he has a career. And you're like, I remember thinking when I was a kid, I was like, I don't think that managing a fucking store at the mall counts as a career.
I feel like a lot of managers that I've known at like Stonestown or San Francisco, like that is their career. Like anytime, like I know that it's a bigger city, so the stores are a lot bigger here, I assume. But like that is a career path some people have chosen. Like they're not like 20-year-old kids. They're usually like 40 or late 30s. Old. Really old.
That's never been my experience. My experience always in retail was always like the person who was manager seemed old because you were 16, but they were 23, and they were like they just graduated. And I just never thought of like managing a retail shop in the mall as being a career unless you were legitimately trying to work your way up the corporate ladder. Like if you worked at the Gap.
I think like a surprising amount of people are doing that. Like certainly a lot of managers I know kind of are choosing to go that route.
I think the fact that Ben Affleck had such a how he was really, really intent on getting Brody to go shop there. He was like, "Oh, we got a sale. You should drop by." I think that shows that maybe Ben Affleck's got a bigger role in this. He's not just managing on the weekends or whatever. Maybe he's got some stock in the company.
The shop.
Nick.
Maybe
yeah,
it's
possible,
maybe
man.
It's
possible, man.
For a fun Greg aside, I'll tell you all this. So in high school, the tradition was that if you were the editor of the paper, like the editor-in-chief of the school paper, it was always a senior. When you were going out, you would write this like stupid fucking fiction of like what the 10-year reunion and like where everybody was kind of thing. And I remember the way when I was my turn to do it, I wrote everybody in the class out, and I wrote out like just my base idea for what their job was or like what their future thing would be and how great their lives would be, and like usual shit, right? Where somebody's like doing a political campaign and all the dumb shit of like, you know, amplifying what you know about the people you deal with, right? And there was one kid I put in there that he was just the manager of one of these restaurants in town. And it was totally that thing of like, I forget when I did it. I was just like, I'll get back to this later. And yada. And it totally printed with everyone having amazing jobs and lives and everything. And the one that was just like Tim Gettys is the manager of Baker's Square. That's all it said. That was his only mention in the whole fucking story.
Greg.
And I'm sure it still haunts him to this day. That, you know, the Spartan, whatever the fuck our paper was called, is like that. I digress. Brody and TS have been on the run now. They're in like the back channels of the mall in this weird dark place, but like how you'd always go and like final things. Brody's winded. He's talking to TS right there in the elevator, and they go back and forth a little bit about it. And I forget what insult Brody or TS does to, oh, you got this glow about you. Yeah, it's not even insult. You got this glow. No, I don't. You love this girl. You really dig her. Well, no. And he keeps harping on the fact that Brody actually has feelings for Renee, that he wasn't just fucking this woman, I guess. And Brody is like, I suddenly want something very bad to happen to you. Pretty much immediately, Gwen, who we've only seen in the dressing rooms, runs up, grabs TS by the shoulders. He turns around, elbows her right in the breast. Oh, she drops, holding her breast, screaming about it. You elbowed me, I freaking did. She swings up, hits him in the cock. He falls down. They're both in pain now because their sexual organ, that's not right. Their male and female parts have been hurt here equally. Brody stands up, kicks him. That's what you get for fucking with me. They're a little bit of banter, and Brody's like, "Don't mind him. He didn't mean to elbow you in the tit, or he's not mad at you. Funny way of showing me about elbowing in the freaking tit. He's mad that Brandy dumped him. I know all about it. What do you mean you know all about it? I just ran into her. She's here. She's here for the show. Yeah, she's over by the stage. TS runs off to go take care of that and see Brandy, and then Brody gets that moment of like, you want me to rub it? And Gwen knocks his hand away.
In the theatrical cut, does it in the extended version, there's a line where she says that the dad basically figured out that he was going to go propose.
No, that's not in here.
Okay, yeah.
Right. What is it? Go ahead. Is that?
Oh no, I mean it's just he figured out he was going to propose and like basically chose to derail it.
Gotcha.
Which makes sense because in the theatrical version, that's not like it wasn't his choice to do that,
Yeah, that's the whole thing of like, don't get me wrong, the extended version I remember not resonating at all, but it was that thing of like, there's so many, back to TS, like what is this guy? What's his fucking problem? Of like, when she's like, oh yeah, I agreed to do the show, you'd be like, yeah, okay, that's totally reasonable. Like clearly you're not going to marry the person, you're not really dating him, but like TS can't deal with it, right? And it's like, there's this weird push and pull of it, and this is a little bit more of it. However, then he runs to the stage. TS runs to the stage where Walt Flanagan is in another outfit now. Again, just like Clerks, wearing different outfits this time, looking like a terrible stage roadie or whatever, working on it or whatever. Where he's moving the podium around. Mr. Fenning wants it over here, but he's like, if I put it there, the carpet will pop up or whatever. He's like, let me show you. Put the thing here, and then you put the carpet down by stomping. And he goes right through the hole. And as he's coming up, TS comes up and he's like, "Where's Brady? Where's Brady?" He's like, he sees him. He's like, "Do it in a second." He fires Walt Flanagan on the spot. "Give me, you're fired." And he does this really sad, like not like sad as in this is like
over
not good acting. Walt does this and like runs off stage or whatever.
Something I never noticed before. They're all wearing very similar looking
flannels. Yeah. No, in the commentary so anyway, let me get there in 1 second because it's 2 seconds away. This is where the conversation with TS and Mr. Fenning happened, right? Of like, where is she? She got the good sense to pen you pack and yada yada yada. I don't like you. Obviously, this is the best thing that could have happened. You admit you're behind our breakup. Admit it. I'm as proud of it as I am this game show. But yeah, in the commentary track, when they go back, they make a joke about like when. After the hole in the ground and they're arguing, another guy walks up and he's like, "Go fix the hole on the stage or whatever." And I think it was Jason Lee in the commentary track, but maybe somebody else is like, "Look, it's like inverse TS because it's pretty much the exact. It's Jeremy London in his outfit, the Henley and the like yellow grayish flannel, and then this African American gentleman in a Henley and this thing, and like one of them's like, it's inverse. Like this is hilarious." So it's been revealed, right, that like, all right, cool, and Mr. Svenning is kind of behind this or whatever. Scott Mosier walks up as the stage manager, who's like the little shit or whatever. He, after confessing to all this, like, yeah, he wants this to happen, and blah blah blah. He yells for security. They drag TS out of that frame. I forget what he wants immediately, and he tells Roddy to get it, and he's like, and he sits there, and he's like, well, go
get LaFours.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. This is when TS enters the lingerie store where Gwen is trying on the underwear just in front of everybody, putting them on, pulling off. And Brody comes in. He's wearing, I would have been a sexy chick. Brody's like, hey, you know, there's whole rooms you could do this for, Gwen. And she's like, yeah, well, there's some guy so desperate to see me naked, he's busted in on me twice. This was it too, where they were talking. Gwen and TS were talking alone for a second, right? And this is when she talks about cheating on him all the time when they dated, that, you know, that no one remembers all these stupid stories like you guys about, like, when you were dressed as Smokey and you fucked the bandit or whatever.
When someone fucked someone else in the middle of a party.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that story.
Yeah, exactly.
Bullshit. That's the only story that I remember.
Like, you remember that Halloween party? Would that be the one where you fucked Rick Darris on a pool table? Yeah, only you guys remember that. How can you forget Smokey fucking the bandit? Yeah, you look just like Burt Reynolds except for the mustache.
Which is the most iconic part.
Yeah. And so while checking out, Gwen starts asking Brody about the Renee breakup. I threw away like a parking ticket. And she's like, she wants the inside scoop or whatever. And he's like, he tells this really awkward story about spooning, right? And it was maybe our introduction to what spooning is, but like, you know, when you sleep next to somebody, Gwen, have you ever slept next to somebody? Yes, Brody, I've slept with, yes, Brody. And he goes, not slept beside them, not just fuck them on a gaming table.
This is the first time I ever watched this movie and actually concentrated on the clerk that's ringing them up.
Oh, yeah,
as he tells the story.
Yeah.
She does such a good job emoting.
And
such
really
a good job.
Yeah. But he does the whole thing of it'll pop out of socket, it'll put it here, it'll fall asleep, yada yada. That's a metaphor for their whole relationship. He's like, and then he just has the thing of, I need more soda, I'm gonna leave. He leaves. That's when the clerk is like, I know just what he's talking about. Excuse me. And she runs out of the frame too, which again, I think I like more and more. The more I've every time I see that, I do the same thing of like knowing that payoff's coming to it or whatever. We follow. Right, yeah, we follow Brody now to the mall food court. He puts his little Dixie cup down, fills it with Coke, no ice. Shannon Hamilton slides up. Oh, I forgot too that Gwen had already introduced. She knew Shannon Hamilton. So did Trish too. Sorry, Trish introduced that she had slept with Shannon Hamilton. He has quite the distaste for Brody. Ew, he mentioned me during sex. No, afterwards he wants to beat your ass. Didn't film that as well. Trish films all the sex things. Gwen had a run-in with Shannon Hamilton. Also, I should have put both of them fucked in a very uncomfortable place. What, like the back of a Volkswagen? So then we have that information now of that he's on the lookout for him, even though he ran into him at the very beginning of the movie. Doesn't matter. Shannon throws Brody into a back hallway of the mall, punches him a few times, basically tells him like, it's fucking over, man. I got Renee. I'm going to fuck her in a very uncomfortable place. Beats his ass a little bit more. Then we cut to TS and Gwen, right? No, we don't.
Couldn't tell you, Craig.
They get beaten up there. Then Brody is post beat up in the candy store with Jay and Silent Bob there.
Yep.
And the fucking Easter Bunny did this. He's fucking dead. And Jay's like slowly stealing candy. Yeah.
So good.
Brody's manufactured this story that the Easter Bunny beat his ass, of course. Oh, maybe this is where it happens. And then so Jay and Silent Bob are like, come on, Silent Bob, we're gonna fuck this guy up. They leave.
Wait, Tim, you don't want to tell our anecdotal story about getting attacked by the Easter Bunny?
Huh?
I was saying, Tim, you don't want to tell our anecdotal story about getting attacked by the Easter Bunny?
No, it's fine.
Okay, never mind then.
We've told it before.
TS and Gwen then run into frame. The Easter Bunny kicked his ass. They leave. What really happened, the proprietor, Shannon, there's also another, you talk about watching the clerk's eyes here, or I'm sorry, the clerk's eyes in the last scene, right, and her emoting here. Something I never caught, because I'm probably a dumb kid watching it, and I don't know if I would have caught it till now. When Gwen and TS enter, Silent Bob and her have this unspoken thing
where he covers his
where
face.
He does this, and like she's like, what? And then when Brody mentions that it was Shannon Hamilton that kicked his ass, she's like, "Wait, I know him. He tried to fuck me in an uncomfortable place."
Yeah.
Like back to Volkswagen. She's like, "Oh shit, look at the time. I gotta go." He's like, "Oh, sorry. I mean, I'm just bleeding to death here. You're gonna be okay. I'll be okay." Blah blah. She shoots off. Then we're to the Easter Bunny, right? Who's here comes Mr. Easter Bunny.
Terrifying Easter Bunny, by the way.
It's such a horrible Easter Bunny
It's
outfit, right?
Horrible thing.
Such a horrible.
I feel like they
horrible
nailed
Easter
it.
Bunny
Like
outfit.
that was what my Easter Bunny looked like.
Yeah. So Jane and Silent Bob make their approach. Come on, guys, you gotta wait in line. They start beating on the Easter Bunny. The kids go, they all run in and start beating on Jane and Silent Bob while they go, and that's our payoff to that. Back on the other section, I guess at the end of that, TS must have said I had to go to the bathroom, right? Because then he comes out of the bathroom and Brody is there with chocolate covered pretzels talking to Rowdy Scott Mosier. Mosier's like, "Mr. Svenning would like to see you over at the stage, both of you or whatever." They're like, and TS like, "All right, I'll be there in a second." He fucks off. Brody offers TS a chocolate covered pretzel. He takes one. Wow, these are melty. What are we gonna do? What's going on? Seems like a trap kind of thing, but we got to go. So we're gonna go. They go over there.
Wait, doesn't Brody have the conversation about the stink palm at this point?
Yeah.
Right. You're right. He does introduce that. What should we do here? You stink palm. What's stink palm? And he shows him that it's shoving your hand in your ass, getting your fucking your sweaty ass crack juice all over your hand, and then shaking
Kevin
his
Smith
hand.
just loves butt stuff, you know?
Yeah, he does.
Who doesn't,
It's
Tim?
funny, Tim. It's funny.
And then then you shake his hand, and that's a smell that won't come off for whatever it is, 2 days at least, or whatever. While you yourself are left with a hand that smells like shit. Small price to pay for the thwarting of one's enemies. So then they're like, "All right, let's go do it," but I'm not going to do that. They head that way, and Brody's got the bag of pretzels in his stink palm, and he just eats out of it like a horse out of a trough. And I've based my whole cereal eating career off that. Hold on, 41's down. Oof. Oh no, he's tangled in the cord. All right, nice. We head over to the stage. Mr. Svenning is there again, just talking to TS since TS went by himself. And again, it's more of the same from before, right? Of like, "I'm sure you've fucked my daughter. You've slimed your way into my daughter's panties once or twice, probably in my own house."
Yeah, again,
but it's this whole thing.
The extended version adds so much to the scene where it's just like it makes it like it's a much longer conversation. That like the start of it,
It's
just
so
kinda
long.
like it's so
long
bullshit.
here. Again, it's not long here. None of the problems you are talking about exist in this part, in this one scene. I'm not going to speak for the whole movie. Anyways, though, Svenning lays the whole thing, right? Of like, "Yeah, you sucked. It's over. You got to move on. We'll all be better for it," kind of thing, whatever. And right as he goes to call over for LaFours and the team, Brody walks into frame, high fives him, and then like, "Oh, if it isn't my neighbor," and then there's this thing, right? And then he starts to go, "Damn, that's a fine ring. What is that?" "It's my cum loud 69. I also hope to cum loud, preferably in a 69. And they all like, they're fucking friends. And I was like, "Oh, they are neighbors. This checks out. This tracks."
But they also keep zooming in on the touching of hands. and
Yeah.
stuff.
Exactly.
So
we
you
get
know,
we get a few TS reactions to how disgusting it is or whatever, right?
it's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually he's like, "Hey, and aren't you a fan of chocolate covered pretzels? Are those dark chocolate?" No. And he's like, "No, I insist. They're a little melty, but damn, are they good?" And Svenning takes the pretzels and eats it and then licks all his fingers in extreme disgusting close-ups with his stink palm hand.
Now, let me ask you this question, Greg.
Yeah.
How old were you when you watched this movie?
95, and I would have seen it. So like what I would have been 12, 13.
Did you think that like roughly 25 years later, you would be crying because Michael Rooker dies on screen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
I thought he was dead for it. No,
No.
I didn't. Especially when it was like understanding that was what I knew Michael Rooker for. And even in the commentary where they're like, "Michael Rooker." I forget what movie he'd been in that was like a horror movie that was big for him.
Slither, probably.
Yeah. No. This is like in 95. This is back
okay.
when they're talking about it. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah, contextually, I remember him from this, Slither, and Days of Thunder. That was it. So when he popped up as Yondu, I was like, "Oh yeah, fucking that guy's still alive."
Yeah, exactly.
Got
Right.
a special place in here, Tim. Right in here.
Right. So yeah, he's been stink palm. He takes the pretzels, and as I believe in somebody who believes one good turn deserves another. Michael Rooker overacting and eating the scenery, and just snaps like this, and all the fucking security rushes in. They grab TS and Brody. They drag them outside while Rooker and Mosier laugh or whatever.
One quick, just another thing about the extended version. There's a scene where like they call in essentially a SWAT team, but they come as like I guess they didn't have budget to get a different outfit for them, and there's a scene where like a cop is gets on from like a balcony is coming down on a rope, and it's just such stupid,
So
overdone scene. Yeah, it's just funny.
Okay. You mean when everybody's chasing them, right?
Right before that, like as the cops are prepping, like remember we get like 4 cops coming into the entrance of the thing and parking.
Yeah,
and then
that's still in this movie, the parking and
is it
coming in. That's at the end when they come in at the very, very end to come down all the aisles of the game show.
Maybe I'm mixing it up then.
Okay, great aside. So they get dragged outside, and once they're finally out into the Minnesota winter, this is Eden Prairie, Minnesota, by the way. We were very close, and I almost went to this mall, but I heard it was no longer even remotely the same. It's New Jersey, though, canonically here in the Askewniverse. They're dragged outside.
And Greg, about the exterior of this mall. A little fact here. While filming exteriors of the mall, production assistants would stick paper New Jersey license plates on cars in the parking lot. Occasionally, unsuspecting Minnesota mall customers would drive away with the prop plate still attached.
Awesome.
None of that sounds legal or good.
No, that's definitely something that if you guys said that was the solution and we were shooting a short film, I'd be like, I don't feel comfortable.
I don't know if it is. Is it the
solution? But then you guys would talk me into it. And
yeah, we would 100%. Nick, I'd be like, Nick, you just don't know anything. Don't worry. If a cop asks you something, you have no idea.
Plausible deniability.
Don't tell Nick anything he doesn't need to know. Outside, Brody's like, you can't just do this. I know you. I'm actually quoting Ghostbusters here when Janine's talking at the end of it. But anyways, he's basically like, you can't just arrest us for nothing. At which point, LaFours, shrugs, takes off his hat, drops the thing of weed, puts his hat back on. And Brody again explains, I know what's going to happen here. They're going to say these drugs that they confiscated from us, or blah, blah, blah. And LaFours is like, and then you hear thunk. And LaFours goes down in frame, and it's Jason Mewes, Jay behind him, who brings up the bat and goes, "Come, son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod, snitchy bitches," and runs away.
And Greg, when you heard that line, did you squirt a little bit in your pants?
Are you fucking kidding me? Of course I did. Again, a movie referencing Superman, the movie? Or Superman 2? Come on. You know what I mean? Technically Superman 2.
I don't remember that.
Which part? Come, son of Jor-El or Superman 2?
Yeah, that. Yeah, son of Jor-El.
That was it definitely was in the extended version, yeah.
That was in the... Okay, gotcha.
So Jay runs away. Security guards start to chase them. 2 security guards stay with TS and Brody. However, Silent Bob himself, Vulcan Nerve pinches them, knocking them out. Gets our heroes out of cuffs. They've got to get out of here. Thanks, Jay and Silent Bob. They take off. Bob gives chase to Jay and is able to outrun the police in a comical sense, and LaFours and everybody else, because he, of course, is Silent Bob and masterful. He turns down an alleyway with Jay. It's a dead end. What are they going to do? Bob starts digging in his coat, pulling out a vibrator, pulling out a inflatable woman. Jay looks back. The people are getting closer. Finally, Bob has the great idea of the Michael Keaton 1989 terrible fucking out of a bag prop belt. Pulls it out.
So good though.
Yeah. Did you come here? Because this is your moment now.
The second they did this, I was like, wait a minute, they're referencing the '89 Batman. And I fucking love that scene. Of course, Greg, the scene where he and Vicky Vale, he uses the grappling hook, but he goes, "How much do you weigh?" He goes 108. He goes, "Okay," and he like adjusts it, and then they get halfway up, and he's like, "Shit," and then later he's like, "You weigh a little more than 108," which I always thought was such a lovely, fun little aside, because he breaks character for 1 second as Batman. He's like, "You weigh a little more than 108."
Yeah. So they grapple hook up there. They just hang there while the LaFours and team come down and look around. They can't find him. They run away, and Jay does the Joker's line from Batman '89, right? "Where do you get those wonderful toys?" and kisses Bob. We're then to the New Jersey Eden Prairie-esque, I guess, Leonardo flea market, the Dirt Mall as it's called later. Brody and TS are going to hang out here till the heat and the fuzz die down, right? And TS is giving shit like, "I don't know why you come here." He's like, "Great buys, earthy aromas." And somebody goes, "Brody!" And he goes, "Well, hey, they know me here." And this is where, they're looking through the thing, and there's a gag here, of course, where Brody, one woman's reading comic books. Brody goes through the comics while talking about this and their various states of affairs, and being like, these need bags, right? These should be bagged and boarded. While that's happening, and they're having this conversation, TS picks up a hat, puts it on, then takes it off and looks at it. It's a clerk's hat from when they were in production. He does one of those and tosses it back on the table. But they're basically lamenting their situation in life right now, what's going on with their respective girls, and of course now the law and everything else. And what you need? A little sage-like wisdom. So they go to Miss Ivana here, a topless fortune teller. Outside, TS is like, "Who would pay for this service? People like us." And he's like, "You want to pay for them?" Brody and TS go in there. It isn't, of course, Nick. Who is the actress here? This is the woman from Three's Company. not Suzanne Summers.
Oh Christ! I looked her name up. I can't remember.
Priscilla Barnes.
Yeah,
Priscilla
that's
Barnes
right.
here. I wasn't thinking.
I would have assumed this was all out of just only the extended cut. I would
Me
like.
too.
Yeah, this is a weird scene, but it always makes me laugh.
It's motivation for our characters, right? Miss Ivana is there to give them some
but there's also something about the way they each handle it that I really, really enjoy, and I feel like fits so perfectly to their characters. Where TS is just enamored in everything he's saying, because what she's saying is wildly accurate, and Brody can't get past the third nipple at all.
Exactly. And so she eventually gets to drop the act. She takes off her top, and she has, of course, the third nipple. When this happens, Brody, like you're saying, Brody goes from being super excited to super horrified. TS is again caught off guard by the fact she's actually on the money about everything she's saying. He eventually is, how do we fix this, Miss Ivana? And she's like, the outcome can only be done through confrontation. He's like, thank you, pays her more. Well, there's also the thing of like, why aren't you Miss Ivano, somebody like with your type of skill set, you could be raking it at a bigger mall or outlet or whatever. And she's like, well, I can only work topless, and it's the third nipple that does it. Oh, you have a third nipple? What? It's as clear as day. and then so they get ready to leave. He pays her more. Before they leave, Brody's like, do you have any? And she's like, any other extra body parts? No, but you can check if you like. Really? TS grabs them. They run away back to the real mall. Miss Ivana then pops off the third nipple, which is just something she sticks on and puts it in her mouth. And I guess the scene, if I remember correctly, either from deleted scenes or the commentary, is supposed to go on a little bit longer, and she's supposed to go cherry, because it was an edible third nipple on top of it just being a third nipple stick on.
It does that in the extended cut.
In the extended, she does that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's the big question for you, Greg. I remember her in Three's Company.
Yeah.
But did she take over for Suzanne Summers? Because there was only ever two. There was only ever three.
Yeah.
There was Suzanne Summers. There was Chrissy, Terry, and Janet. Janet was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Was Chrissy there the whole time too? When did
no.
Terry
Remember, so it was the three of them: Jack, Janet, Chrissy to start. Suzanne Summers.
Yes.
Suzanne Summers got all high and mighty or something and wanted more money. Maybe even she might have been in the right. I don't remember. But so season 2, she was just in by phone calls, and then they got rid of her completely, and that's when I think they brought on Priscilla Barnes to be Terry.
Right. Because I remember Terry being like, I was like, oh, what's up with this new girl? What's up with Terry? Because Janet, of course, always just sort of like the best friend.
And then because there was another one too, remember?
Was there?
Because I could be getting the orders here. I'm on IMDb for hold on, full stop here.
We got
Have you ever seen Three's Company, Andy?
No,
me neither.
It's fun.
So,
Wait, Tim, really?
It's great.
That seems. Is that not a Nick
John
and Night
Knotts
show?
as Mr. Furley. Are you kidding me? Always trying. Mr. Furley. So they had a landlord that used to live downstairs, and because it was Jack Tripper, it was John Ritter who lived with these two smoking hot girls. And so Mr. Furley was always trying to get up there, being like, "I'm going to be a disciplinarian, but also like I'd be if you like invited me to a party, I'd be cool. Like I'd be cool."
Mr. Roper,
like Mr. Furley, we don't want you in here.
all of my knowledge.
Stick with me,
is
stick with
from
me,
Family Guy.
please. I need the floor. Suzanne Summers was Chrissy Snow. She was in 102 episodes from 1977 to 1982. So then in 1981 they introduce Priscilla Barnes as Terry. She's in 72 episodes, 81 to 84. Then they introduced, I lost her. Hold on, I had her.
Wait, when was Roper on there versus
Cindy Snow, 44 episodes, 1989. That doesn't make sense either.
See, I'm confused by all this because then I remember there being Mr. Roper and then Mr. Furley, but aren't those the same characters also?
No. Mr. Roper was the first landlord, then Mr. Furley took over.
Mr. Furley took over. I was more of a Roper fan because Roper was no fucking bullshit. He was just like, I'm gonna fix your ship and just be cool. Furley, I always kind of wanted to party with him. God bless Don Knotts.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get back to this later on when we do.
Are you guys all following this? Because this is important for later in the movie.
All right, so they now have motivation. They know what to do. They go back to the mall. Oh, by the way, I've totally skipped over a scene somewhere in here where Gwen was backstage with Brandy, and Brandy's super broken up about it, and Gwen is very much like, I just saw TS, he's here, and he's super broken up about you. No, he's one of the good guys. I would have dated him. There's not many good guys out there. Why don't you fucking date him again then? I would if he wasn't so hung up on you. Like, oh shit.
Again, it's been all of 2 hours since all of this happened. And that's what I love so much about this. Is so angsty. I'm like, are you what? This is such a high school drama where you're like, oh, that person's single now. I love them. Yeah. And it's like, well, what the fuck? Come on.
Anyways, TS and Brody re-enter the mall. This is where I was talking about earlier, right? Where it's hey, aren't you the guy who broke up with Brandy Spinning? and it's like, why? And Brody's even like, why are you doing this? And he's like, you heard Miss Ivana. The only way understanding is reached is through confrontation. I say we do this, blah blah. We're gonna do all these different things. So TS runs to the bookstore, finds Jay and Silent Bob. The last place they'd look for us. He's like, hey, do you still? No. He's like, I need your help with this. Oh, I need you. Are you guys up for getting stoned? Of course we are, right? Look who you're talking to, or some shit like that. Then we cut back to Brody, who's been left alone, who's looking in a lingerie shop, and Stan Lee walks by and starts talking about it, right? And they look happy, don't they? What, the bras? No, that couple. Sorry, go ahead.
Stan Lee facts for you here. Stan Lee can be seen looking to his left or right repeatedly while talking with Brody. This is so he can see his cue cards. Not being a trained actor, memorizing lines was very difficult for him. Jeremy London, on the other hand, despite being an experienced actor, forgot his lines repeatedly. Stan Lee initially did not want to be in the film as himself. He felt that the dialogue wasn't things that he would say. Kevin Smith responded that it was just pretend, to which Lee replied, okay, super friend.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
What a G.
Stan and Brody have a conversation. There's a cut in here.
He also like was married and like really, really happy, and like later like publicly like said that everything he said was not true, right?
Yeah, he's been with his wife, I think, forever, for like 4
years. But he made it a point
like
to make a big deal of like, hey, that's not me. I'm not like that.
Well, yeah, there's like, I remember when she passed, right? And that was like, they were so super in love, and there were so many stories about them. I digress. So yeah, Brody and Brody and Stanley have their conversation at the lingerie place. Then the conversation at the railing, where Stan's basically like, all the heroes he's created are because of his own heartbreak of the one that got away. And don't be like me, Brody. You got to not stop that. Brody also asks a whole bunch of different questions, obviously, about superhero sex organs, which is hilarious. Stanley eventually walks off, and it's another funny one from the commentary. When Stan walks away, he's going in one direction. Brody's like, whatever, Stan, you'd give it all up. I'd give it all up, Brody, for one more day, and then completely changes the direction he was walking. Like Stanley's just milling about this mall. He has no fucking idea where he's supposed to go. Brody, motivated, slaps the thing and runs away. We then cut down to either one of these scenes happens it doesn't matter. We cut down to Trish and Silent Bob. I should have said this, that earlier when we first met Jay and Silent Bob, right? Bob had just watched Empire and Jedi and was trying to move a cigarette in his hand with his mind. Now it's Trish and Silent Bob. Trish holding it, Silent Bob trying to move it. She makes a joke that she thought it moved, but it didn't. Brody runs into frame and is like, I need your help, Silent Bob. You're an electrical master. Can you do something wiring for me real quick? And pulls out his thing and does this. I actually skipped the point where he gives Trish the keys to TS's car and says, go get that tape of Shannon Hamilton. And she's like, okay, I'll totally sell this guy out. I'm 15. I probably shouldn't be fucking people, let alone videotaping them. Fuck me. And then it was the whole thing. Can you wire something together? Sure. Then TS runs into Stan Lee and he's like, oh, and hey, it worked out. It turned out this is all a setup that, Stan Lee, gave him the vulture soliloquy from Love Be a Vulture Tonight. I think you should get your friend some help, though. He's obsessed with superhero sex organs. Backstage at the show, Jay shows up. There's two suitors there that are going to be the ones who go out there and try to vie for Brandy's heart. Jay starts talking about how they could fuck up or fart or whatever, pop a boner and everything will go to hell. They start getting nervous, and he goes, what's great for nerves is Snoogie Boogie's man. He brings out the weed. Because they're going to do some fucking drugs because they're drug addicts, everybody. Don't be like them.
Who's one of the show contestants, Craig?
One of the show contestants in this scene? Or do you mean the third suitor who's going to come in a second?
The third suitor, yeah.
Let's wait till we introduce the third suitor. One of the guys in the scene is the long-haired dude who won Gatorade from Clerks. So fuck you, Tim, trying to catch me. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Man, how dare you try to catch him?
Tim, you insulted me and yourself. Take off that P.S. I love you sweatshirt. You don't deserve to wear it.
Shirtless. You do the rest of this episode shirtless.
And I did all that in all sorts of wacky order. So now we're just going to come right back to it where those two contestants are down, stoned as hell. Jay's there. Brody comes in. No, TS comes in. He's like, oh, man, you did great. Great, blah, blah. Brody shows up. All it took was a fat chronic blunt. And there's some question. These two were lightweights, to which TS looks around and goes, oh, my God, there's only two. And he's like, what do you mean? There's only two. There's supposed to be three. At this point, the third contestant walks in, who is, of course, Brian O'Halloran. He is, in fact, Dante Hicks from Clerks, just with his face, his goatee shaved off. His hair's longer. His character
What's with Hicks instead the of hair? The hair is so bad at this.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, but even then, I was
goatee's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll take it. Gil Hicks
I prefer the goatee.
Or the actor improved quite a bit between Clerks and Mallrats. Still not great, but much better.
You know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of before the drugs, Artie from Howard Stern.
Artie Lang.
Artie, he reminded me of Artie Lang, like just his kind of face and the hair. It's just like a very '90s Artie Lang. I don't know why.
Have you seen Artie Lang lately?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, before the drugs is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Kevin, question for you: did you ever see Vulgar?
No.
Okay.
Why?
It was another black and white indie that Brian was in. I forget who from the Askewniverse did it. Hold on.
It wasn't Mosier. Someone else directed it and wrote it, right? Oh, it was his. Wasn't it his friend? It wasn't it his like actual friend in life.
Brian Johnson did it. Yeah. Okay.
Who Randall's based off of.
Well, Brian Johnson is
lead singer from
Steve Dave in this. I don't know if that's who Randall. I forget if that's who Randall is based off of. We're getting in the beats, obviously, as we do. Gil comes in and is like, "What the fuck's going on? This is what's going on." At this point, Roddy comes by and is like, "Oh, by the way, Mr. Svenning has diphtheria." The executives had come back or whatever, and he's out there puking in a bag that Roddy had given him and all this other stuff. Gil yells for Roddy. He comes through and he's like, aren't these the two that Mr. Svenning had arrested? They sure are. Security. And then Jason Lee goes, hey, Roddy. And he's like, yeah. And he turns and he punches him. And again, a great line from the commentary when Jason Lee's watching the scene. He's like, if you can see in the scene, I am constantly in the stance the stuntman taught me to punch. So he's like awkwardly like sitting like, hey, Roddy. So then or the security shows up, right? And then Brody really quickly, or Jay, I forget who, is like, this guy got high and knocked these two out or whatever. You got to get him out of here. And Gil's like, that's not what happened. And they kicked him. He's like, ow. And so she's like, whatever. She drags them off. The show is set to go. Then the show starts, right? And it's truth or date. Shannon Hamilton and Renee are out in the audience. Is their beautiful first date of just their entire day. It continues. I don't know when he's fucking working at the Fashionable Mail, but apparently it's the not Pat Sajak comes out. It's totally cheesy dating game knockoff show or whatever. They're out there talking. They introduced the suitors, and it's T.S., Brody, and Gil. At this point, we cut back into the audience where we see Mr. Svenning puking the bag and being horrified next to the execs. Rowdy comes over. He's got a bloody nose. He's like, what the fuck is going on up there? Brandy comes out. She sits down. We go into this whole suitor thing of shitty questions, right? Based around a dating game and how Brody wants to be called second suitor because suitor number 2 sounds like a bathroom code. It's so weird. Like, what weird shit to say, but okay. What kind of car would you be? I'd be the kind of car you never dump your boyfriend in. Weird fucking response. Renee and Brody make eye contact in the beginning, and Shannon stops clapping, like understanding that something's weird. There's good.
All of this sucks, man. I don't like.
Sucks.
Yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, and I don't know how it is in the extended version, but it is just this weird thing. Like the con you don't dump your boyfriend in. That's
I think that this stayed pretty much the same in the extended version. Yeah.
I like the thing where like what kind of if we were making Whoopi, what's Whoopi? If we were like fucking and the entire audience gasped, like that was all right. What kind of noises would you make? No, I think that's too personal of a question.
I love that response so much.
And I do like it's I don't hate it, but I guess it's longer than it needs to be. I guess because I do think when I talk about like the Gil stuff, right? Of like first I started the cheese house and then danced till the sun came up. What a load of crap! You look like the kind of guy that you look like the kind of guy that would beg for sex. I should know. He'd smell her own. Brody just killing it, and the network execs in the back
fall in love.
And at some point, she asked the question of making Whoopi in public, and he goes, "Already did once today." And eventually, though, Brandy starts putting it together, right? And TS is on a long rambling tirade about everything that's going on, and then Brody and the rest of us get some questions. It's here where there's the weird cut where they brought in Claire Filani super late in a different place and different lighting with different hair to actually piece the one scene they needed to get around all the governor's shit they had. But then the jig's up. She's like, how's your comic collection, Brody? And he's like, fine. What? I don't read comics. What? Boy Wonder, I'm all man, lady. Anyways, that's just what's going on. This is a rambling, weird section of the show, obviously.
One thing in the extended thing that I'm reading isn't in the other one is there's like it shows that Brody has intentions of being on TV in the extended one.
Oh yeah, that was not in here. The whole point of this scene in the theatrical cut was basically just to be the climax of that character development. And so for me, like that's where this movie, watching it back, kind of falls apart, is that they don't really have a strong realization of growth as the guys. Like, I guess Brody kind of does later, but TS just is sort of like, just spends the entire time telling what's her name, Brandy, that she's wrong, and then she's like, you know what, you're right, I was wrong, and I will marry you. And it's like, well, that's not good. Like, she was not in the wrong. He was fucking wrong for being a dick.
Yeah,
I think Kevin Smith wrote himself into a corner there by not having him have a little bit of growth. I think the movie would have been a lot more fulfilling if he'd walked away with at least some level of self-discovery.
Yeah, the whole storyline of the media being after TS and trying to get him for almost killing the governor. There's a line where Brody says, "Man, like you're running away from these cameras. I'd do anything to get on TV or something like that." Yeah,
in a long time. Sorry. But yeah, anyways, though, how would you propose to me as Jaws popped out of the water? And I'd propose you stop letting your father run your life right now. And like I said, this all gets revealed or whatever. Finally, though, Brody's like, well, ask her, you idiot, or whatever, because it's just a 180 all of a sudden that their problems have been solved by this yelling at each other talk show. And he proposes. She says yes. She runs out and starts kissing him. Like this fucking thing or whatever. While that's happening and they're making out, Brody falls backstage because Jay's like, everything's ready to go. Silent Bob's there. Silent Bob isn't there, by the way. That he's hanging there, but Trish tosses in the tape. It goes past him. It gets just out of his reach. At this point, Stan Lee walks by and does the whole, a sailboat. Willem is like, he kicks the fucking thing and he stumbles off. Sailboat, goddamn sailboat. So then the host comes out. He tries to wrap up the show. I'll be going to Florida for a week of sun, theme parks, and a lot more by the looks of it. At this point, Brody comes out, grabs the microphone. He goes, not so fast, Pat Sajak. You have something that belongs to me. Shannon Hamilton's like, well, yeah, what's that? Not you, the girl, idiot. And it's like, I would have been like, all right, you just said you. You know what I mean? We have our own thing going on here.
We've got stuff.
Like I'm an asshole for thinking it's me. You have my heart, right? And to which Shannon Doherty, without any other, is just like, what can I say? I love the hard R. And it's like, Jesus, okay, that's Shannon. That's how we're doing it for Renee's turn in this movie. At which point, Shannon Hamilton's like, oh, that's it. You're fucking dead, Mallrat. I'm going to pump your teeth down your throat. He gets up and starts coming. And as he's coming to the stage, Brody starts looking around and seeing all the cops coming in. This is earlier we had seen the scene you were talking about, Kev, with the cop cars coming in and all the cops running and one of their hats blowing off. Brody realizes he's out of time. He's like, all right, well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to present you with an accurate portrayal of the management staff at Fashionable Male. Now, Silent Bob. Silent Bob's agrees for it. Now, Silent Bob. The cops get up there. Shannon gets up there. He grabs him. He cocks back. Now, at this point, Willem's like, say what, goddamn, say what, kicks the thing. It jostles the tape loop where Bob had been doing the Jedi mind stuff. He gets it. He slams it in. It starts playing. And it's, Shannon Hamilton having sex with this 15-year-old in the ass saying, who's your favorite new kid? Call me Joey. Call me Donnie.
That's the best. That's the fucking
Turns the cop goes like, that girl's only 15 years old. And they're like, you're off the hook for everything that's happened here. We understand a lot of shit's happening here. We don't understand, but
that's how law works.
Possibly arrest both of you.
No, they don't
There's
have
not
space.
enough of us to arrest both of you right now.
The rules, man.
Serious crimes.
Only person doing the worst thing gets arrested.
Yeah. It's true.
And Netflix like, come on, guys. She told me she was 35.
30.
He's putting handcuffs in. It's so it's like we're into the end game of the movie here, right? So they start to pull Shannon Hamilton out of there, and then Shannon Doherty walks up, slaps him on the ass as he walks by. I think maybe Brody already punched him at this point. That happens. You've seen the movie.
He has the moment where he goes
to
to
hit
punch
him. He's like, all right, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't let you hit him in custody.
Just
All
one.
right,
You're like, all right. So then they have the conversation, Brody and Shannon, or Brody and Renee, of like, I owe you breakfast, and also tomorrow, if you're not too busy, would you want to come over and have dinner and meet my mother? I can't guarantee she'll they kiss again. It's another awkward ass kiss. Then back at the stage, TS and Brandy are wrapping up there. Would you really gone on? What do you think? I think you would have. At which point the Brandy's Brandy's dad comes in, Michael Rooker, and he's arguing with the network. He's like, the show will always be tight. It won't be. The show's a piece of shit, Svenning, but this guy's great. And it's Brody standing there or whatever. Like, tell me, kid, have you ever thought about hosting your own TV show? And he just goes, yeah. And then it cuts to the fucking where they
So
now.
apparently, the two guys that were the executive producers for the Mall dating show also have sway over the top show on the networks right now, which is the Tonight Show, very much still being hosted by, I think maybe at this point Jay Leno had taken over, but or maybe Johnny Carson. When did Johnny Carson leave? But if this was Johnny Carson, the idea that Brody Stevens would take over for Johnny Carson, it was just absurd. But they went for it. Why not?
Yeah, and maybe we're wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe it is the fact of. He took the shitty job with these other people and he worked his way up, right? Maybe that's how it really happened. Did you ever think about that?
I mean, I did not think about that because the way it's edited, it shows him legitimately just the next day taking
with
over.
a fucking bomb ass Weezer track. A whole reason to own this fucking goddamn soundtrack. Suzanne fucking playing. Yeah. Brody took over the Tonight Show. Renee's his band leader. Renee was very well liked by his mother.
What album was Suzanne on?
This soundtrack, it wasn't on an album.
Oh shit! Okay, wow.
That was one of the main reasons. I was gonna buy the soundtrack anyway, but I was definitely in for
yeah.
Because back in the day, kids, you couldn't buy your songs piecemeal. You had to fucking own all this weird ass shit. Same reason I had the Angus soundtrack. Everybody.
Oh my god!
They put a Weezer track on it. I'm buying it. All right, that's how
I heard Angus.
So yeah, the wrap up. TS and Brandy do get married after graduation from college. They get married at Universal Studios. You get the Jaws thing there. Shannon Hamilton is in the fucking prison. He's getting attacked. He's people are having sex with his ass now in a very uncomfortable place. Renee's book, Trish's book goes on to be a record-setting thing, bestseller for 72 weeks or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. They're making a movie out of it. And then I think it's Jay and Silent Bob, right? Jay, Silent Bob, and Suzanne. That's a story for another time. And it's an orangutan where they're holding hands with it on a road and they turn and they walk down the road. And you're like, that'll never pay off.
So brilliant.
They pay off on it eventually.
Can't wait.
Go.
Can't wait for that bit. It's time for Ragu Bagu.
Bagu.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys, the podcast within a podcast where we rank all the villains in the Kevin Smith View Askew universe. I'm one of your hosts, Greg, alongside the Hispanic heartthrob, Andy Cortez.
How's it going, guys?
The Glue, Kevin Coelho.
What's up?
Forbes 30 Under 30, Tim Gettys.
Y'all.
And the man, the myth, the legend, the predator himself, the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino. There it is. DJ, what was his name? DJ Ugly Trust?
DJ Trust.
DJ Trust. He's not going to roofie you.
For volume 9 here. For
DJ Trust can't afford roofies.
We currently have number 1, Dante. He's his own worst enemy. Who is the villain of Mallrats, and where do we want to put them?
Shannon
Hamilton and Michael Rooker are the villains of this. And I'd say they're number 1.
Wait, Shannon?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you guys right. You guys are right. Sorry.
Ben Affleck and Michael Rooker are definitely number 1 on my list. They're great.
100%.
Ben Affleck just plays himself, which is totally unlikable, which is great. And then Michael Rooker, of course, coming in hard with a naked bottom, doing the Die Hard 2 Kung Fu in the mirror. Love it.
LaForce as well. LaForce.
No, I like LaForce.
Yeah,
LaForce
is just doing his job, you know.
Well, I guess he tries to plant drugs on him, but other than that, just doing his job.
But again, that was part of his job.
Nazis were just doing their job, Kev.
Let me tell you about another group of hate mongers that were just. They're called Nazis.
Throwback.
They're number 1, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Come on, don't be stupid.
7 syllables in the middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. I don't know if there are haikus.
There are.
Okay, very cool.
There are, baby. You go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your review in haiku form, just like Ricky McFly did. Dialogue's funny. Superman, nuts like a gun. Let's jump the bunny.
Very good.
Daniel Edmund says, the budget's been upped. Who's down for Snoochie Boochie? Ben Affleck was young. Bumbleboy Wonder says, big tittied mermaids, inappropriate humor. Movie ain't PC.
Dude, that one line where they say the big titty, you'll see fucking big titty mermaids, so good.
And then Senor Fluffles ends it with, the second suitor. Your maleness amazes me. Stink Palm, classic.
It's so funny. Like I never realized because this movie was not like I guess it's a flop, right? Given the budget and how much it made. They were expecting it to make at least probably 20-30 million, I imagine. But like looking at this, I'm like, I wonder if he had just made this version, if he set out to make this version, if he could have done it for like $2 million or $1.5 million and actually made this like a soluble movie. I don't know. Or solvent movie, rather, not soluble. It's not going to dissolve in water. I'm like, no one's talking on that, but that doesn't sound right.
I was going to let that one slide.
But it's so weird that I didn't realize how overly ambitious this was for a second film. And like this extended edition sounds fucking bananas. So it looks like he kind of lost his way there a little bit.
You know what song kind of feels like it needed to be in this movie? And it's only just because it's part of the era, but here I go, watch your mouth, because I'm not listening any. It's like something, it's from Dumb and Dumber. And I was like, I feel like this song needs to be in this movie just because every 90s movie kind of had the same vibe, you know? Sublime.
Oh my God. I mean, this exactly. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, you guys were probably, I think you guys had just come out of your mothers in the 90s, but me and Greg being the old guys, this was like, these are so nostalgic to go back and watch. Just because that feel, like in '96, I was midway through high school, so like just that feel of being at the mall and hearing that soundtrack and hearing punk and like hearing Weezer and stuff like that is just so good. It can't be shit on.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the theatrical cut this week too to see if my ranking will change going forward. But this, I think, is definitely under Clerks. I don't know that it's that far under Clerks, but I think I'm just realizing these Kevin Smith things. It's like like last week you were talking about like the greater than sum of its parts, like all that stuff. It's like it's all starting to fall apart for me. Where I'm just like, okay, but we're like, I feel like so much of the things that we like about this movie is because we say we like them. It's like, oh, it's funny. Why? Well, we say it's funny, so it's funny. But it's like it's nostalgia more than quality. And
maybe, but I mean,
that changes as we go on because I do remember like Dogma is the one that I remember liking the most and remember functioning as a movie the most that I've seen of these. So I'm excited to get to that one. But this, even like extended, not extended, whatever, it's like I did not have a good time watching this. And like, sure, there's like lines of dialogue that were funny, but like for a movie that is supposed to be regarded as good because of its dialogue, I feel like it missed way more than it hit.
I agree. I felt largely pretty bored with the movie. And I mean, I think Tim just summed everything up perfectly. There was a couple lines of dialogue that made me giggle here and there, but for the most part, I understand that I had to have, well, I should have watched the theatrical first, but I also would probably love it a lot more had I watched it as a kid of the 90s and as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, maybe 12, 13-year-old. I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Upon watching it now, well, it just seems like it's easy sort of immature comedy, which I'm not above, granted. Like I love a lot of Adam Sandler, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura shit, but I still think I'd enjoy it a lot more had I seen it back in the day.
But see, I think that's the charm of this movie, right? Is that you guys obviously watched the more him trying to make something that was more than what you just said. But this is a silly, immature movie, and I think that it suffers if it goes on any longer than 90 minutes. For me, I enjoyed watching this movie again. I thought I held it in higher regard than I do now, only because watching it back to back with Clerks when I was a kid, same reason why you liked Back to the Future 2, or you thought you did, it just had more going on, right? It had a comic, it had pictures of Wolverine, it had Stan Lee, it had boobs, it had all sorts of things. It was in color. So I was like, oh, this is clearly a much better movie, right? You go back, you watch them back to back, and there's just that certain magic of Clerks, not the least of which is like because of the story of it, that you just can't help but feel delighted watching it the whole time, right? And in this one, yeah, that he's already, you know, we always talk about it's always fun to watch like a hero get his superpowers. We love the origin stories. Well, for me, that was Clerks. Clerks is the origin story for Kevin Smith. This is the sequel. This is the Thor Dark World where you're like, it's okay. I mean, he's flexing his muscle here a little bit, but I do think that they should have given him like $1 million and been like, you have to make this movie on this budget and given him some constraints because he just went off a little bit too much on this. It doesn't have the same tightness.
Yeah, I still love the movie. I still found it funny. Like I said, I came in ready to cringe more of like, oh God, what are we getting in for? But I still enjoyed it. I think, you know, and it's it's very much for me the same way of digging through the old photo albums and looking through photos from junior high or high school or whatever, right? Where it's like, it's a nice thing to go back to. It brings back really fond memories. I still find things to chuckle and remember stories and lines of dialogue I love from it or whatever. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a good movie, right? Like it's got plenty of problems. It's enjoyable. Like we're talking about, I mean, like who the fuck is T.S. Quint? Why does it end the way it ends? How do all these things happen? I was back in the day way more forgiving because it was more of a reflection of my life on the screen, right? You know, and I know that's such a goofy thing to say now with every superhero movie in the world out there, but it was cool to see those conversations. Huh?
This movie kind of just feels like a BuzzFeed list where it's just like, remember this? It's like, here's a reference to a thing. And it's just like, okay, so Silent Bob uses the Force. It's a reference to Empire Strikes Back. And it's like, that's a fun nod. And it's like, okay, the Wolverine stuff, but it's like, they're not building a story out of that. It is just kind of like played for hitting you somewhere to be relatable, which in that sense they nailed. And I do think that even watching it now, I don't think that any of those moments don't feel good. Like, even though we have superheroes and Stan Lee in every movie, Stan Lee in this movie was exciting to me. Like, I liked that scene a lot, and I thought that stuff kind of worked really well. I just think that all the characters around that and the story that they built, like, just it doesn't add up to anything that makes any type of sense. And Nick mentioned the Shakespearean stuff earlier. It's just like, yeah, the dialogue is so flowery and just like over the top that the relatability, it's kind of at odds with itself of being relatable and also just being like every character's Randall.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the positive notes of this, like for me, Jane, Silent Bob are really starting to come into their own, and I think they're the best part of this movie. And I think Jason Mewes is a lot more comfortable here, and we start seeing like, what we think of like this movie. When I started Clerks, I was like Snooch and Nooch and Nugans and all that shit. That's not in Clerks. There's like a little bit of it here and there, but this is where we really see him get comfortable. And then, you know, we're going to work it up, but no future spoilers. But when we get to Jane Silent Bob reboot, I mean, I think that there's so much of that foundation laid in this movie for what we're seeing later with those two characters. I don't know. It's really telling that Shannon Doherty never chose to come back to the Askewniverse.
She almost did. Mallrats, remember?
Oh, was that the thing that was going to happen? What the fuck is the new? What's the thing with Mallrats now? Is it going to be a series? Another movie?
We do not even have fucking time to get into that right now. So
I love this movie. I think it's funny, and like, yeah, a big part of it is like that when I saw it the first time, it was like it's same for Clerks. People weren't making these kind of references. They weren't saying these things, and there was more. Like it was a huge deal. I do feel like watching the extended version was a huge mistake. Like watching that movie sucked. And super shocking to like, just as a surprise, see that like the first like 20 minutes be totally different.
Yeah. I was just like, I guess, you know, the references and stuff and all that stuff is fun, but we still don't have anything resembling like a character arc that feels meaningful or anything like that.
I think that Brody has a really important. I think Brody has an important character act, like or his character grows through the movie. TS doesn't, but it's interesting to like whose movie is this? Like Brody and TS really share the screen a lot, but I feel like Brody's the one that's getting all the growth and. Like,
yeah, Brody outshines TS, I think, quite a bit. And back to the growth thing, I do think
more of a character.
The line I glossed over earlier on, right? He does have that moment of self-realization,
right.
Or at least where he speaks it out, similar to Randall, I think, right? Of just like, haven't I made it abundantly clear in our friendship? I don't know shit. I'm always talking out my ass or sticking my hand in it, right? Like, don't listen to me when I'm saying stupid stuff. In the same way Randall says that.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I just feel like, man, it's unfortunate that we watched it with this extended version, because I really feel like, wow,
You guys have to. I mean, Kevin, you've seen it a bunch of times, but Tim and Andy, you guys have to go back and watch.
Yeah, but I feel like
I will watch it this week.
Yeah, I really do think that like the well is like poisoned, where it's like now. I can't even imagine like being like 10 years away from watching. Like I watch these movies all the time. So, like, the jokes hitting, like, they won't hit anywhere near as hard. It doesn't matter, though.
Yeah. Kev, can you look through the rest of them and make sure that they're all the right stuff that we should be watching? Because there's no way I would have known this.
Yeah.
Chasing Amy's in Mandarin.
It literally says Mallrats 1995.
No, yeah. I was, yeah.
But, cool. Anyways, let's vote. Who thinks that Mallrats is better than Clerks? Raise your hand. No one raises their hand. The rankings right now of the Kevin Smith View Askewniverse. Number 1, Clerks. Number 2, Mallrats. We will return next week this week on Friday with Transformers: The Last Night. Mark Wahlberg returns.
Is this possibly
baby.
the worst week in review ever?
First off, fuck you. The week is bad because you watched the extended cut. Don't blame the fucking movie.
Which I immediately, by the way, was like,
I don't believe him at all.
Fan didn't fucking edit that shit. Like, it wasn't some random fan creation, all right? It's an official thing. Also, I wanted to mention it was Mallrats always regarded. I could have sworn Mallrats was always thought of as like one of the best, if not the best, Kevin Smith movie.
I think it's the most mainstream commercial of the Askew movies.
No, I don't think that's true at all.
The next one's about God and the devil and angels and shit.
Okay, I'm way off then. My bad.
Chasing Amy's the next one, right? And then
oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
I feel like Dogma and Clerks 2 are both very commercial. I know that Dogma's a little obscure.
I would say for sure that Mallrats was the cult classic one. Mallrats came out and bombed and was mishandled and marketed, and it wasn't until it was on VHS that people were like, wait a second, like clowns like me were like, wait a second, like, hold on, this is actually cool. Like, there's something here that actually is.
I don't think I even saw this in the theaters. I think I saw this on VHS like 99 or 2000.
There was, I remember I had heard somewhere that the trailer wasn't good and it was cut really weirdly, and I wonder if it was cut to the original story.
Probably.
Yeah.
Jesus, must have been.
So next Tuesday we will be doing Chasing Amy. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Until next time.
Nooch.